What's going on, everybody? Today, we're going to talk about a few different stories. The first one is Dinesh D'Souza's really poopy defense. We're going to talk about a poop-filled story that includes Dinesh D'Souza, a festival in India, some guy from America freaking out about it because he tried to do a documentary. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I do because it's going to be an interesting one. Then we're going to talk about Al Qaeda in the White House. Of course, they told you Al Qaeda knocked down the towers and killed thousands of people, and that's why we had to go to the Middle East to fight bin Laden. But about 20 years later and a couple of regime changes later, a former wanted Al Qaeda terrorist, and by former wanted Al Qaeda terrorist, I mean last year, this time he was wanted and had a wanted poster posted to the embassy in 2017 that they kept going until last year. Now, all of a sudden, he became the leader of Syria, and he's apparently Justin Bieber. I mean, I've never seen a foreign leader get so much love outside the White House than this guy. So we'll talk about that story. And as if Trump wasn't ruining MAGA enough by being a complete donor puppet, he's now attacking Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it's just disgraceful. So hopefully you guys enjoy the show. I'm going to enjoy it, or I'm going to try to enjoy it. I can't guarantee it, but I would say there's about a 90% chance I'm going to have fun today. Let me know what you think in the comment section. God bless you. Dream Rare podcast starts now. I shouldn't have done that. Should we just cancel this whole live stream? No, I'm just kidding. Dream Rare podcast starts now. Appreciate you for being here.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
You guys like that now? Like I'm like a Yu-Gi-Oh announcer or something. What's up, Luciano? What's up, Sarah? What's up, public? We have a public library here. Thank you for being here. We all love public libraries. It's nice of you to turn into a human being, create a YouTube account, log in, and be a fan of the show. So thank you, public library. I'm sure you're not a real person. You're literally just a AI manifestation of an actual library. See, that's why I like YouTube. You get to just make up funny names. Some guy's name is Chicken something. Chicken on Brie. Chicken on Brian. Does it even matter? Does anyone care? Thank you for being here. All right, so I got a few stories I want to talk about today, and like a lot of stuff is happening. So I'll probably stay at the end and see what you guys are thinking because it's a very crazy time, as it always is. I think every day is pretty weird at this point. But I want to get into this Dinesh D'Souza very poo-poo story because it was a very mask-off moment for Dinesh, who is freaking out over the last 2 months about Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes. He's really having like a Israel Spurgout moment. And, that's not even what I'm going to talk about today because, there's a whole other thing to be said about that. But it's this little poop festival he was defending, and it really, he didn't need to do this, but he did do it. So we're going to read the post that he responded to, and then I'll show you why I'm talking about it. There's obviously going to be a reason. Just to give you a quick brief, some guy went over to a place in India where they throw a bunch of, I think it's cow poop. It's like a festival they do, and it means something to them. And I want to be clear because, one, I don't want the whole nation of India to hate me. And also, I've had a great relationship with Indian Americans. So I'm not trying to ruin that in this live stream, just, making jokes. So I want to be as respectful as possible to other people's culture. With that being said, I don't think that everybody in India does this. But they do some sort of poop throwing festival in some part of India. This guy went to film it, and I guess he's been getting a lot of backlash from the Indian community over it because they feel like he's disrespecting their little poo-poo throwing festival. And let me read the post that he posted. And it's unclear whether he's trolling or actually apologizing. This guy seems like somewhat of a troll, but I'll show you what Dinesh said to this. So on the right is the guy, who filmed himself at the poop throwing festival. And he said his name is Tyler Oliveira. He said, after much consideration, I have decided I will not be releasing my documentary capturing India's poop throwing festival. I have been doxxed, threatened by thousands of Indians over the last 2 weeks. Tens of thousands of Indians have turned my life into a living hell. My family has been attacked in ways I never could have imagined. Showing up to this poop festival was one of the worst decisions of my life, and I severely underestimated the power of India. I am only one man. I cannot defeat the combined power of 1.5 billion Indians who yearn for my destruction. I simply cannot continue fighting this war, and I must choose my battles. This one simply isn't worth it. So, like I said, this guy's a troll. I don't know if he's really apologizing or not, but here's what Dinesh D'Souza said in response. And this is kind of like his Vivek Ramaswamy H-1B visa scandal, except even kind of crazier, in my opinion. He responded to that post and he said, "How about commenting on this festival?" says Dinesh D'Souza, an alleged American or an American. He said, "It seems like the future belongs to the poop throwers." And it says, here's a bar chart of showing the median household income by major racial and ethnic groups in the United States for 2024, based on the latest US Census Bureau data. And then he shows that Asian people are doing better than white people, Hispanic, and Black. So there's a reason I'm showing you this thing. If Dinesh responded to somebody making fun of Indian Americans, right? People that are American citizens that are Indian, and he responded that way, I wouldn't really think that much of it. He's defending his ethnic group of American citizens, but it's really like a mask off moment because Dinesh shows you that even though an American citizen's commenting on a foreign poop throwing festival in India, Dinesh sees himself in the poop throwing festival and feels a need to attack other ethnic groups in America because one guy went over there and filmed a poop festival. Like, he's not defending his American Indians in America. He's defending a foreign thing that is completely foreign to like 99% of Americans. I don't care what people do. We have some weird customs ourselves. I'm not asking everybody to like it or agree with it or disagree with it. But Dinesh D'Souza seems to not have any respect for this guy that just got doxxed by a foreign nation, and is getting completely harassed for filming it. Dinesh sees himself as a poop festival thrower, and he says, "How dare you film this?" Clearly, he doesn't seem to care that that guy's getting doxxed and harassed. And Dinesh instead defends the people doxing and harassing them as an ethnic Indian and says, "We are the poop throwers. We are the future in America." Like this vague, oddly, like, we're taking over. Your ethnic group is doing bad. I thought we were doing this colorblind, like there is no race there, it doesn't really matter. We're all just Republicans, like Abraham Lincoln, like whole Dinesh D'Souza vibe. But no, he doesn't. He doesn't see himself in the American doing the documentary, which he doesn't have to. He sees himself in this obscure poop throwing festival and feels the need to bring up America and his ethnic group in America to defend foreigners throwing poop. I don't care that he defends it. Like I said, I think it's respectful to be respectful to other cultures. But I think this is showing people what everybody has already kind of figured out. In America, everybody tricks white people and Europeans into thinking race doesn't matter. We don't care about race. You shouldn't congregate based on race. You shouldn't defend your race. Like, it literally doesn't matter at all. We're all colorblind. We're all Republicans in this party. It doesn't matter. But then at the slightest little, like, poop festival in India, all of a sudden Dinesh jumps up like that's his country. Are you American, Dinesh, or are you Indian? And it's not to say an American citizen can't defend a foreign festival, but if you're using a foreign festival to take jabs at other ethnic groups in America, it means you feel connected to that ethnic group and you feel connected to that country, so much so that you want to take a jab at European Americans to say, haha, we're beating you. We're taking over the future in this country. It's going to be a poop throwing festival here. Whoa, buddy. I thought we were all just Reagan era Republicans, my dude. I thought it just didn't matter. And that's what white people are starting to figure out. And I'm not trying to make this into like a white people thing. I'm just being honest. For the last 60 years, white people specifically, but other races too, have been told race doesn't matter, but this race gets this. Race doesn't matter, but you're a racist. Race doesn't matter, but you're an anti-Semite. Race doesn't matter, but this group gets this benefit. Race doesn't matter, but this race doesn't like your race, but you can't even notice that it's happening. And then even our allies on our side will say, well, race doesn't matter, but I'm Black and I'm getting invited to a Black American event at the White House. I'm part Hispanic. I got invited to the White House because I'm part Hispanic and the Hispanics invited me to the White House. It's like every group can kind of congregate loosely based on their ethnicity, except for Europeans. And then the people on your side that are saying, don't do that. You're racist. You're this, you're that. Like Dinesh is one of these guys now. He's freaking out at Tucker Carlson. He's freaking out at like anybody that's talking about this stuff. But this is why I'm glad that people talk about this stuff, because when they say pressure makes diamonds, and it's the same thing with this. You don't really know who people are until, something brings the truth out of them. And I think this sort of thing, this guy wasn't talking about Indian Americans. This guy wasn't talking about people who came to America and joined our culture and joined our country and got citizenship. This guy wasn't talking about Indians who assimilated like everybody else, like a lot of the Indians that came to America. He literally got doxxed and threatened for filming a foreign poop festival in India. And Dinesh sees that in India and says, how about commenting on this festival? It seems like the future belongs to the poop throwers, in which he's basically like telling other groups, we are the poop throwers. We are taking over America. But don't say we're taking over America, even though I just said we're taking over America, because that's racist. That's bigotry, I'm sure they would say. You know, everything's just racist and bigotry. And if you don't believe me, I'll show you a post right here of him defending Vivek. Trump endorsed Vivek Ramaswamy, and Dinesh D'Souza says, Trump gives a nice middle finger to all of the bigots and full-time losers who are trying to take Vivek down and hand Ohio over to the Democrats. So now if you don't like an Indian American pharmaceutical billionaire who's literally made $1 billion in the pharmaceutical industry, now you're just a bigot because they happen to have the same ethnicity as Dinesh D'Souza. So there's no logical reason to hate Vivek Ramaswamy, the pharmaceutical billionaire who said he cried on January 6th and made a huge error talking down to American citizens about how great foreigners are. Yeah, you're just a bigot now because he just happens to share Dinesh's ethnicity. This guy on Twitter said perfectly, Dinesh D'Souza spent 40 years pretending to be race blind and condemning identity politics, saw a random YouTuber get doxxed and harassed by Indians, asked them to stop, and then Dinesh decided to brag that he and other Indians would take over America out of nowhere. Here's another one from Dinesh because he's been picking on and trying to tell people to condemn Tucker Carlson. So we're going to call Dinesh D'Souza Dinesh Poopzouza, or maybe Poopnesh D'Souza. I'm not really sure yet. But Poopnesh D'Souza says this about Tucker Carlson because Poopnesh D'Souza just thinks everybody's a bigot now. Poopy Poopnesh said, the smooth and easy part is to condemn Nick Fuentes. But Fuentes is not the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. That title belongs to his enabler, Tucker Carlson. So that's the tougher and braver call, to condemn both the snake and the snake charmer. Be tough and brave. So now Poopnesh Poopzouza thinks you're not tough and you're not brave if you're not condemning Tucker Carlson as the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. Aren't you stupid racist bigots and anti-Semites getting it, bowing down to poop throw Dinesh Poopzouza? Bow down to Poopnesh D'Souza or you're an anti-Semite. Bow down to Poopnesh D'Souza or else you're just a bigot. Bow down to Vivek Ramaswamy, who made $1 billion in the pharmaceutical industry and said he cried on January 6th, or else you're just a racist bigot. I mean, there's no other reason to like Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm going to play a clip of when I interviewed Vivek Ramaswamy and what I said because it's awesome. And also, you know, this interview cost me a lot. And now I kind of can see why, because there's different groups working together. But when I interviewed Vivek, there was this Zionist media smear that came out of nowhere because me and I almost called him Israel, but me and Vivek didn't talk about Israel or anything Jewish at all in the interview. Like, I didn't care about that with Vivek. I was just talking about other stuff. But Zionist media came together to call me an anti-Semite, to talk about my Epstein tweets and Zionism. And I was way earlier than most people. So nobody really even had my back then. It's just like they were just destroying me in the press because I got an interview with Vivek. So I don't know why that happened right after my Vivek interview, but I'm suspecting definitely, and I'm not saying with Vivek, I have no idea. I'm just saying in general, like the Zionist media, they're completely like orchestrating all of these things and coordinating it. And then you have someone like Poopnesh Poopzouza, who's like, you know, what we really got to do is condemn Tucker Carlson. We got to condemn the anti-Semite. Fuck you, Dinesh. Fuck you. Excuse my language. I'm sorry about that, but fuck Dinesh D'Souza. Yeah, that's who you are, Poopnesh Poopzouza. You're just going to tell everybody they need to condemn Tucker Carlson. Oh, yeah, because words hurt our feelings now on the Republican side. And you're a bigot if you don't like a pharmaceutical billionaire. And, you know, Tucker Carlson's doing all these interviews that I don't want him to have and saying all these things that I don't want to have. So I'm going to try to turn everybody against Tucker and call him a dangerous anti-Semite. Fuck you, Poopnesh Poopzouza, you scumbag. But anyway, here's my interview with Vivek Ramaswamy, which I would implore Dinesh Poopzouza to check out if he would like, because, you know, I'm exactly who I say I am all the time, and I act exactly the same. When people are face to face with me, I tell them exactly what I think. Here it is.
Those are areas where I was on the bleeding edge. I'll give credit to people like you who were ahead on spotting the risks of the COVID policies on vaccines in particular. Yeah, most importantly, we just got to be right to move it forward, though.
I didn't even finish college. I mean, I'm not stupid. I dropped out to pursue my career. But in general, I believe it was a third grade math equation, a lot of this stuff. So why do you think I was able to figure it out, but not you, not Trump? I believe it was because at the time you were working in the biotech pharmaceutical industry. So that's what you were doing. You were focused on sucking up money, advancing your company. You weren't really concerned with what we were dealing with or the truth about it. Because if I can do it with a calculator, I think you could have done it or Trump could have done it. But Trump hired Alex Azar, a pharmacy executive lobbyist. Trump took $1 million from Pfizer. Trump had meetings with Bill Gates in 2018 where Bill Gates told him about modernizing flu vaccines. And in 2019, before the pandemic, Trump passed an executive order for that. So I don't think that I'm so smart that I just had the foresight. I think that I actually care. And Trump was being a politician that I believe sold out to Big Pharma. And I think you were working with Big Pharma. So I don't think I had insight. I just think you care now because you're running for president.
Watch the interview in full if you'd like. YouTube link in my bio. I'm grateful he came.
Facts. I said exactly what I thought to Vivek. He's like, oh, you were on the bleeding edge of COVID, not me. Well, that's because you work in the pharmaceutical industry. If you prioritize telling the truth over profits and your companies, then you probably would have been saying what I was saying. But, everybody plays a role. This is mine. That's yours. Anyway, there's a lot I could say. I think I've already said enough, but I want to make the statement not to be like a shill or to act like, this is just, I'm just a very straightforward person. I grew up around a lot of Indian people and I have a great relationship with Indian Americans. To be honest, I had a lot of Indian friends. I think 10 to 20% of where I grew up was Indian. There were hella Indians, hella Asians. That's just how it was. And now there's even more because Indians and Asians, to their credit, actually stay together, breed, and have families. And white people just kind of travel all over the place like myself and don't actually, put our roots down. So, there's no fault there. That's just is what it is. But anyway, I have a great relationship with Indian Americans. I think India is cool. It's not a place I've ever been, but I have no issue with people, their festivals, Americans who assimilate, other races. I just don't like Dinesh and I don't like Vivek. So I'm not trying to blame an entire country for them. I just find it fascinating that Poop Nesh Poop Zooza is trying to call Tucker Carlson the most dangerous anti-Semite in America and call people bigots that don't like Vivek because of his little H-1B debacle earlier this year. He's such a scumbag. And I could say a lot, but I have a lot of other stories. I want to leave it at this and give Dinesh a backhanded compliment because I do think it's true. Regardless of how big of a scumbag he is or how evil he is or how dishonest he is or how hard he tries to crush Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson's talking about the Israel lobby, no matter how much he tells people that, you're a bigot if you talk about race, yeah, he sees himself in a foreign poop throwing festival and takes a jab at white Americans over it. Regardless of all that, my backhanded compliment to Dinesh D'Souza, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't really care, is I think Dinesh won at life. I think it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what he won at life. If you look at Dinesh, he's incredibly ugly. He looks like a troll under a bridge. The dude is one of the ugliest people you'll ever see. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got a beautiful daughter. And I mean that with no disrespect. I'm literally being honest. I'm literally being nice. It's just like Dinesh is like the ugliest person I've probably ever seen in my life. And he's got a beautiful family. So what can you say to a guy that ugly, that achieved so much greatness, that made so much wealth and success, and has a beautiful family? He won at life. He's literally the ugliest person I've ever seen. He looks like he belongs under like a hill crying about anti-Semitism and bigotry. Yeah, he has a beautiful family. So what, it's like, it doesn't matter. He's W's for Dinesh. He won at life. He's crushing, beautiful family, despite being one of the most wretched, disgusting faces I've ever seen in my life. Like out of a 10, less than 1. He is ugly and just really just looks like a little demon gremlin who haunts people, on Halloween. So, God bless him. God bless his family. And, if this is his future, to tell the entire world that they need to condemn Tucker Carlson because he's the most dangerous anti-Semite, my message is simply this: fuck you, Dinesh. You're a piece of shit. Fuck you. Everybody's going to hate you. And, the good people of America see right through your little tricks. Your mask completely fell off. Good luck defending foreign poop festivals and telling everybody you're an America First guy. It's not going to work. Anyway, let's move on to the second story, because I thought for a second I heard so many cheers. I was thinking that Justin Bieber was at the White House, or perhaps Kid Rock, or maybe, who knows, the football team who just won, or, or the baseball team, the Dodgers. I mean, there were so many cheers. I just assumed it was Justin Bieber with a new hit single, but it's actually the former Al-Qaeda terrorist guy who was a wanted terrorist literally this time last year. But since he took over Syria, probably helped like the CIA and the American and military and our allies probably helped him get there. Not probably helped him get there. Definitely helped him got there. The question is, did they work with Al-Qaeda the whole time? Were they always funding Al-Qaeda, or were they just working alongside Al-Qaeda to overthrow Syria? Because Al-Qaeda was trying to overthrow Syria. America was trying to overthrow Syria. Israel's trying to overthrow Syria. And when Syria got overthrown, a wanted Al-Qaeda terrorist took over as president. But while they tell you on television that Palestinian babies are terrorists, that they need to get blown up, and the hundreds of journalists that Israel killed, they're all terrorists because they're all Hamas. While they tell you that, somehow the Trump administration, Marco Rubio, former CIA directors, they're telling you that the former Al-Qaeda terrorist leader, who was a wanted guy last year, he's Justin Bieber now. Everybody welcome Justin Al-Qaeda Bieber to the White House. Listen to I've never seen a foreign leader get this type of introduction at the White House. Listen to it. Drooling fans outside.
He's putting my wristband on. He's putting my wristband on.
Veterans Day. Al-Qaeda in the White House. Al-Qaeda in the White House singing his new song, Baby, Baby, Please, that he co-wrote with Justin Bieber. It's like, is this guy part of BTS? Did he join One Direction or something after he left Al-Qaeda? I've never seen anybody. They're screaming. The fans want more. Al-Qaeda in the White House. Maybe Trump will put on the YMCA for him. Maybe a special Al-Qaeda version of YMCA for him. Or Trump can come out and go. Trump could go, young men, I sold out to the donors, and then young men, I passed Israeli speech laws for them, and young men, now if you talk about who I work for, we'll call you an anti-Semite. I don't know. There's something there, It's fun to stay at the Al-Qaeda in the White House. I don't know. There's someone could do something with that. But anyway, the former Al-Qaeda, remember, he apparently is just so reformed he can just come to America and sit with Donald Trump. But babies in Palestine, not them. And journalists in Palestine, not them. They're just getting absolutely blown up and decimated all the time. And you're an anti-Semite if you notice. But they're beyond the pale because someone went on Fox News and said they voted in an election, and you're too stupid to realize they haven't had an election in over 20 years and half the population's 18. But they're getting blown up. But not this guy, because he's a former wanted Al-Qaeda terrorist. And the truth is, they told you that Al-Qaeda did 9/11, and they told you that they were fighting Al-Qaeda. But what if this world was so sick and twisted that they were never really fighting Al-Qaeda? What if they were working alongside them? What if they were them? What if they purposely planted this guy in Syria? I've been following politics for 15 years now, 10 years. I don't even know how long it's been. I've never seen someone this loved. Literally no one. You could think of our greatest ally. I guess the closest thing would be Netanyahu. People definitely love him. But besides Netanyahu, I've never seen Director Petraeus, or the former CIA director, had a little on stage panel with this guy. And they're he's like, did you get enough sleep? I'm a big fan. It's no one acts that way towards any other foreign leader ever. This guy's got to be a total plant. Speaking of which, since Zionist fake opposition Republican media has brainwashed people's brain for decades into starting wars against your interests, doing regime change against your interests, creating a refugee crisis against your interest, and then working with their friends on the left to flood America and Europe with the same refugees that they told you they were fighting. It's been an orchestrated effort for the last 30 years. Now, Zionist media is telling people that Mamdani, the shit-lib leftist communist LGBTQ plus guy, that he's going to bring Sharia law to New York City, which is so dumb because the opposite of Sharia law is happening. And there's certain groups that are working together to bring in like the most degenerate leftist stuff all over the place. And nobody realizes it. So I made this little 3-minute video, take a watch, for Instagram and Facebook and YouTube to explain to people, I don't like Mamdani. I don't trust Mamdani. I think he's going to be terrible for the city. But people don't realize, because they're controlled by people that are creating wars in the Middle East. So they need Christians to have no idea about different Middle Eastern countries and Islam and different sects of Islam. They just want you to be like, baby terrorist, journalist terrorist, if we say so, but now terrorist in White House because he good guy, he on our side. Like they don't actually explain anything to you. So allow me to explain to you why it's ridiculous what 95% of Republicans are saying. Wow, none of them talk about the Al-Qaeda terrorist in the White House. If you guys are so concerned about baby terrorists and journalist terrorists and terrorists, but you're not talking about the actual terrorist who's now in the White House, then how serious are you really about fighting it? But here's my video about Mamdani, Islam, and how global homo is literally the opposite of Sharia law, because it is. As a Republican, let me tell you why posts like this about Mamdani make absolutely no sense whatsoever. Watch the whole video before you assume what I'm going to say. So personally, I'm not a fan of Mamdani. I think he's a phony. I think he's a borderline communist. He's going to be terrible for the city. However, posts like this from brainwashed Republicans on my side suggest that Mamdani's actually going to be so conservative that he's going to take a more conservative stance on feminism than Christians did in the early 1900s. Mamdani does not seem like a principled Islamic person whatsoever. He seems more just like your run-of-the-mill shitlib who's totally fine with open degeneracy.
Current Brooklyn DA, the former Manhattan DA, having said that prosecuting women for prostitution is something that actually leads to less safety.
If he were a principled Muslim who actually wanted to implement Sharia law, you would see more things like banning usury, banning pornography, banning homosexuality, banning adultery and premarital sex, alcohol. If you want to be honest, what's haram in Islam, 95% of them are sins in Christianity, and Christian Republicans also hate them and think that our nation is turning into Sodom and Gomorrah, which it is, especially cities like New York City. Mamdani's going to do the opposite of ushering in Sharia law to New York City, because once again, his brand of government is going to be shitlib far leftism, not principled conservative Islam. It would be equivalent to some super far left-wing gay Democrat winning an election, them saying that they go to church, and people freaking out saying, oh my gosh, they're gonna usher in biblical law. Literally no. Literally the opposite. Of course, Republicans don't really know the difference because they're constantly lied to and brainwashed by news publications like Fox News, who have essentially been controlled opposition military-industrial complex media for 20 years, which they convinced Republicans under George Bush to go fight a bunch of people, not know the difference between Middle Eastern countries so they can invade multiple countries that have nothing to do with Al-Qaeda, overthrow their leaders, create a refugee crisis, flood America and Europe with those same refugees, and then 25 years later see Marco Rubio and former CIA director shaking hands with a former wanted Al-Qaeda terrorist member who was literally wanted this time last year. But these fake opposition Republicans in the media don't seem to recognize any of these things. They just post the stupidest brain rot propaganda suggesting that he's some super conservative Muslim who's going to usher in Sharia law and ban pornography, gambling, usury, alcohol, feminism, homosexuality. That's what you think Mamdani's gonna do? I'm not a fan of the guy. I think he's only gonna make the city worse, but get a grip. He's not a principled Islamicist. He's your run-of-the-mill shitlib communist. Let me know what you think in the comment section. God bless you. And check out some of my custom-made hats, completely made, designed, and sourced in America. Up your fashion and spread a good message while doing it. Appreciate y'all. So I was inspired to drop that video, and my favorite part about it is like, and I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm going to just go out on a limb and say that probably 50% of people even understood what I was talking about there. And the other 50% they think they're smarter than me, and they think that I don't understand, like, oh, you don't understand Takia, they're infiltrating. It's like it went so far over these people's heads that they don't get it. Like, that's my favorite part about that video is it's super deep. Half the people will get it. And all the people that think that they know more than me on that topic are like 20 years behind me on that topic. Let me explain myself. I'm going to start with Tucker Carlson, since all of the Zionists seem to really hate Tucker Carlson, like Poop Nest Azusa. Here's a lot of things they hate about Tucker Carlson. I'm just going to name a few. They hated when he had Martyr Maid or Daryl Cooper on his show, because Daryl Cooper covers history in a more nuanced way. And he said that Winston Churchill is horrible. And Tucker Carlson constantly says that Winston Churchill is horrible. He's destroyed Europe, his own country, like his own country's in shambles after World War II. And, you know, look at Britain now, basically like you failed. And a lot of people, they'll say, no, you don't get it, Tucker. That happened after World War II. Winston Churchill has nothing to do with it. That's what you think. You think it's completely, you know, separate from the war, but it's a product of the war. And also, you know, these are some really deep, uncomfortable truths that most people are not really trying to look into. So they'll just be like, no, it all happened after him. It's not because of that. Look at most of Europe and America is just completely falling apart. I'm not saying it's just because of that, but, you know, long story short, they hate that Tucker's questioning World War II. They hate that he's questioning this narrative, because that's so focal to everything that's going on right now, is everybody's understanding of that and the exact, believing the exact narrative of how it happened. So another thing that Tucker does is, yeah, he just says, how did we win the war when our countries look like this? And it pisses everybody off. He'll say with Venezuela has a conservative government. Like, they're more conservative than a lot of Republicans here. And they freak out and he goes, he's defending Venezuela. He's not defending Venezuela. He's accurately reporting that. When we went to Ukraine, if you look at Ukraine and Russia, Russia is super Catholic, super Christian, and super based. Ukraine just gets gayer and gayer and gayer. They start implementing these like San Francisco style homo laws that didn't exist there 7 years ago, because it's not normal in Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe, like Poland, Belarus, Russia, they're way more traditional and way more Christian. And Eastern Europe is like global homo. It's like shit lib, refugees, everything's gay, feminist. It's like 20th stage homo, feminism, global homo. I'm sorry if that offends people. I'm just trying to be funny and give it like the title. And Tucker realizes this, which is the neoconservatives, the Zionists, and the fake opposition right that wants war with Venezuela and war with Iran. They don't give a crap what's going on with Europe and other countries, because a lot of the times when they do their foreign policy, they're making it more liberal. When you ask Mike Pompeo, who claims to be a Republican, he talks about a liberal world order. He calls it, we're doing a liberal order. Why would a Republican and a conservative want to do a liberal order? Because they're destroying countries. They're breaking down countries. They're planting different leaders in it. Every country we take over in the Middle East gets super gay and super liberal. Why would a conservative want to do that? I'm not saying you have to care that much about them, but it's like you start to realize that every country that we intervene in, most of the time, it starts doing things that we don't like here. We get involved in Ukraine. We start funding Zelensky. He's way more liberal and way more global homo than Putin is. That's not a defense of Putin. It's just the reality of the situation. So when Tucker points this out, it breaks the programming of them just telling people to blow up little kids in Palestine and support Ukraine. And, you know, we're just fighting Venezuela because of drug boats. No, we're not. It's a regime change. It's way deeper than that. It has to do with Iran, China, and Russia more than it has to do with Venezuela. Nobody gives a shit about a lot of South American countries in America. You think they really care about Africa and stuff? There's a lot of really bad countries that could use a better leader that they never invade because there's no oil there. There's no military strategic opposition. So, you know, people like Tucker are just calling a spade a spade. He's like, it's not about this, it's about this. And he's like, and if you really want to talk about this, then why don't you go invade a country that's doing this? It's because it's not about that. So with the whole Mamdani thing, they have, because Zionists and neocons want to use America and Europe to do things in the Middle East against certain Muslims, not all of them. They're tricking people into thinking that Sharia law is coming. Sharia law is coming. Guys, the big threat to America right now is this left-wing global homo neocon fake opposition. Like everything's falling apart. Trump is like a banker stooge. He's doing like a bunch of usury loans, car loans, bank loans, 100-year mortgages. The dude's a complete fuck up. You know what I'm saying? That the economy's falling apart. Trump's building gold ballrooms and telling everybody that there is no economy problem and you're just a Democrat or something. Trump is an absolute buffoon. He's such an embarrassment, such a clown, such an idiot. Right? He's losing so many people on that stuff. We won't talk about the Epstein files because we all know both parties work for the Epstein orbit, including Trump. You know, it's a total joke. Kash Patel is now, his girlfriend is now suing a bunch of influencers for suggesting something about her for $5 million. So it's like, it's such an embarrassment. But anyway, if you look at San Francisco, is the big threat to San Francisco Sharia law? No, it's this left-wing, commie, global, homo, far-left, anti-police, anti-ICE, anti-white, anti-American, anti-reality, anti-common sense, anti-family, anti-woman. They can't even tell the difference between, you know, transgender sports. It has nothing to do with Sharia law. Just like white countries, African countries, Middle Eastern countries, every country is not exactly the same, but in the Middle East, there's really wealthy, successful, safe, clean, nice countries that are better to visit than a lot of, unfortunately, American cities, places like Dubai, places like Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of Middle Eastern places that you'd go to and be like, I'm embarrassed of our cities. Like, this is way nicer. And then there's really shitty Middle Eastern countries because it's usually based on corruption, the people, the general population. So I'm not saying a bunch of refugees can come to America from random places in the Middle East and it's great for America and it's going to work. Well, it's not really. And plus, we don't even know where these people came from half the time. And also, it's, you know, there's, I don't even think they'd be able to get away with that in like Dubai. They probably have stricter law there. But what I'm trying to say when it comes to like San Francisco, Minneapolis, etc., the big threat is far leftism and this completely empty, open, atheist, voided, anti-family, just global homo stuff that's been going on. That's destroying America. That's destroying Europe. If you look up what Sharia law actually is, and I'm not Islamic and I don't want to live under Islamic law because why would I? I don't want that for America. I don't think it belongs in America. But it's 95% things that Christians actually believe in. Christians had their own version of Sharia law back in the day. It was called a biblical country that was based on Christian rule, not Judeo, like libero, femino, like all this new isms. They're all completely stuff that Christians used to reject. And the Christians in Eastern Europe that reject it, most of them, we end up trying to start a war with them and make them gayer too. It's like Ukraine. It's like so obvious that, you know, it's like, oh, people are so afraid of Sharia law in New York City. Look up what they would outlaw. They'd outlaw pornography. They'd outlaw out of marital sex and adultery. They would outlaw homosexuality, transgender, like all the stuff that Republicans complain about. That's what Sharia law is. Because if you look at Islam and Christianity, I'm not saying any religion's the same. I don't believe in Islamo-Christo, Judeo-Christo. Judeo-Christianity is the biggest lie ever. Who owns the pornography companies? I'm not sorry if this bothers you. Who owns which religious leaders? There's religious leaders that own pornography countries. It's not Christianity, because Christian leaders believe pornography is evil. And in a Christian society, there is no pornography. If it's truly a Christian society, in an Islamic Sharia law society, they'd outlaw porn. Who owns the pornography companies? Which religion? Duh. It's the same freaking people Republicans work for. So they got you brainwashed on Fox News and Newsmax. Oh, I'm so nervous of Sharia law in New York City. You're afraid that they're going to take over and outlaw pornography, usury, adultery, homosexuality. First of all, it's never going to happen. But also, what you are being told to be afraid of by the news that's not even going to happen and not even close to happening is like you actually have your own religion called Christianity that has 95% of these rules as well. I'm not asking to outlaw it. I'm not a dictator. I'm just saying back in the day, feminism was viewed as destroying the family because it did destroy the family. Christians viewed men and women as different. Now, women are men. Nancy Mace is just like you. No, you're not. You know what I'm saying? Women can do whatever they want, but they don't make as good of security guards. They're not, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh yeah, the same Republicans that will be like, I can't believe the left doesn't know the difference between a transgender swimmer and Riley Gaines. Do you not know the difference between a woman and a man doing 95% of jobs? Because men do them better. I'm not saying women can't do anything, but physical jobs, it's the same reason you wouldn't want Caitlin Clark in the NBA. She'd get smoked by LeBron James. It's the same thing as a transgender, but now I have to pretend like that's only true in the NBA, but it's not true in most other categories. It is also true. Security guards, police officers, military, but Republicans don't want to talk about that. So it's like the big threat to America, sorry if this is crude to some, I'm just being very straightforward, is the opposite of Sharia law. You're being run by complete godless degenerates that hate you, hate your family, don't see the difference between men and women, are pushing every sort of ism from feminism to this ism to that ism all over the country. And they have you afraid of strict conservative Muslims. Go to obviously, like I said, there's some probably really, just like in Africa and other countries, there's some really shitty countries and really shitty places you probably won't want to go. But when you go to the Middle East, there's also some really great places. Go to Dubai. And that's not even Sharia law because they're pretty liberal. Go to certain cities in Saudi Arabia. Go to the places in Qatar that all the Zionists tell you that you should hate. It's probably safe. It's probably clean. It's probably nice. UFC fighters go to the Middle East all the time. And literally I watch UFC podcasts because politics is too much. It burns me out. And every UFC fighter, you ask them, they're like, yo, how was Azerbaijan? How was Dubai? How was Riyadh? And they're like, dude, it's literally incredible. It's safe. It's clean. Like Bryce Mitchell told a story where he left his passport in the taxi. He goes, in Arkansas, that would have been stolen. He goes, they drove an hour back for free just to give it to me. Like Sharia law theft is illegal. Like in America, we have the opposite of Sharia law. Theft is like normalized. But we don't need what I'm saying as a Christian, no offense to my brothers and sisters all over the world, but we don't need Sharia law in order to put America in order. We need biblical Christianity like we had for hundreds of years. Freedom was supposed to mean freedom from the government, freedom to be yourself, freedom to make the most of it, freedom to not pay 40% taxes under this communist. Trump's a communist too. 35% taxes for the wealthy. That's not capitalist. This was never American. That's what freedom and liberty used to mean, is not getting robbed by the government, allowing to do your own thing as long as you weren't hurting anyone else. Freedom didn't mean 35% taxes and, the whole country is just super fat, gay, and, just being overrun with people who hate you. That's not freedom and liberty. That's like fifth wave ism of every ism. That's not the American way. That's the last 30, 40 years that everybody's complaining about in their own way. For the first 200 years of America, nobody thought that way. And I'm not saying that everything was perfect. It's just like, oh, we're so afraid of Sharia law. You should be afraid of the fake opposition Zionist Republicans and the left-wing communist degenerates, total demons. That should scare you because that's destroying America. And also, if you really want to ask the question, let's just say they bring a bunch of Somalians into Minneapolis and stuff. Who's bringing them in? Who's bringing them in? Which politicians are bringing them in? Which organizations are bringing them in? Which donors are funding politicians on both sides to bring them in? Who's doing that? And if you get to the root of that, 95% of the people funding 100% of that, 95% of that, are not Islamic. So there's certain people that are getting joy flooding your country with people. But the country that they represent, they would never do that because they think they have a separate ethnic group that they don't want to mix and mingle with everybody because they want their own homeland. But for America, they don't give a shit about you. So it's like when you look at all this stuff, they got so many Republicans completely brainwashed. Mom Donnie's going to do Sharia law. No, he's going to do the opposite of Sharia law. Look at what Sharia law is. He's probably going to do the opposite. He's trying to legalize prostitution. He has no problem with pornography. He's waving rainbow flags. He's a total communist left-wing shitlib. He has nothing to do with conservative Islam. And I'm not asking you to want to do that, but I'm just saying, like, if you go to the nicest parts of the Middle East, they're conservative and they don't have a lot of crime. And if America and the left and the right came together to regime change them, it would probably look like San Francisco. So I'm just being honest. I don't care if it's Africa. I don't care if it's the Middle East. I don't care if it's Europe. I don't care if it's, New York City. What the West needs, in my view, is real leadership. They need to take a biblical view on crime, the same way the Muslims in the Middle East take a Quran view on crime. A biblical view is thou shalt not steal. We don't need somebody else's culture. We don't need somebody else's religion. We don't need a bunch of other people's Sharia law. We have our own. It's called literally America forever until now. Your main threat is the fact that you're being run by a bunch of demon degenerate idiots that don't have biblical values. That, a Bible believer says, thou shalt not steal. Me personally, I think every sort of theft crime like that, I'm very thoughtful when it comes to like petty crimes that don't really matter, something that doesn't affect somebody else. Car thieves, break-ins, people stealing. I think there should be severe penalties, like to the point where it barely ever happens. I think it should be so uncommon, like it is in Dubai, but it's not. And why is it uncommon in Dubai? Because they have severe penalties based on the Quran. We used to have severe penalties based on the Bible and people in America that live their life to those principles. We don't have that anymore. So we need really strict leadership based on our principles. We had our own version of that. It just wasn't televised everywhere. It was just, thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not kill. If you're a bad person, we're going to make it tough for you. If you're a good person of any race and religion, we're going to make it really easy for you in America. But now the exact opposite is true. And the best Trump can do is a bunch of freaking banker loans for his scumbag billionaire friends to put everybody in usury debt forever because Trump's a demon. That's the best you can do. 100-year. Look at the gold on my wall. There is no affordability issue. It doesn't exist, poor people. Oh, I just cut a deal with Pfizer. Oh, I got Bill Gates here. Fuck you, Trump. And all these idiots brainwashing Republicans. I'm sorry. I'm being a little fiery today, but to be honest, I'll apologize to God. I'm sorry for cursing, Lord. Besides that, I don't apologize to anybody for what I said because I mean it, and this is real passion. I could talk about this for a long time, and perhaps I will later, but America and the West are not falling because of Sharia law or Islamic law. America and the West are falling because the left have become communist degenerates. Check out who's funding them. Look at who's bankrolling it. And the right has become Israel first Zionists who literally start wars that create refugee crisis that end up flooding America. And these spineless cowards don't do anything about it. Look who's bankrolling that side too. It's the same people on both sides. Oh, but don't notice it or else you're a bad person. Like Poopy says. So it's like, yeah. And you're worried about a Muslim guy who you think is going to outlaw a bunch of things that Christians would outlaw if they ever got into power again? Doesn't even make any sense, And people then misconstrue that when I say that, where they're like, are you saying that you want these people and that people in? To be honest, no. And it's no disrespect to anybody, but there's good and bad all over the world. There's good white people. There's bad white people. There's good Muslims. There's bad Muslims. There's good Arabs. There's bad Arabs, right? And only God knows who's good and bad. I'm not trying to sit and say I could look at a group of refugees and tell who's good and bad. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, when these wars started, it's the weakness from America and Europe. They're not vetting these people properly. They don't know who these people are. They don't know where they even come from half the time. And they just got taken advantage of. So while I'm saying all these things, it's like, I don't think that Minneapolis should look like Somalia. But and I don't know what type of people those are, because Somalia doesn't look like Saudi Arabia. No offense to Somalians, God bless y'all. But if I'm just viewing from the outside, Saudi Arabia looks like a society that has a lot of money, but also has somewhat order and they're doing impressive, interesting things and making a country that people want to visit. Somalia, not so much, So it's like every country to me is not exactly the same, where it's like, if there's a group of people that aren't getting it together themselves, maybe it's a money issue because Saudi Arabia has all the oil money. I don't really know. But in general, it's like, if you import certain people, you become them. That's why it's so weird that Dinesh said that, because if an American doesn't like a poop throwing festival in India, you could say, yeah, you should have been nicer about it. You could say, yeah, you're being bigoted or hateful. But at the end of the day, just like India doesn't have to like hot dogs and hamburgers and, red, white, and blue, Americans don't have to like or understand poop throwing festivals. But Dinesh tells you that the poop throwers are taking over America. That's what he says. So if you're saying that people with completely different cultures and identities that most Americans don't understand are going to take over America, can Americans who don't want that culture, don't understand that culture, disagree, or does that make them a racist and a bigot for noticing that different people shift culture? So even though I said all that about Sharia law and Islam, it's like I don't think any country should just be importing 50 different groups of people by the hundreds of thousands and planting them in different communities. Like it's not always for the better. Sometimes it could be interesting and diverse, but most times now it's creating a country that's incredibly divided, that doesn't share anything in common and isn't even trying to find stuff in common. Because if you have somebody like, let's just say the right wing, we have different views, etc. Someone like Dinesh, he's not looking for unity. He's not looking for a discussion. He's looking to blacklist the most popular and interesting Republican, Tucker Carlson. And Dinesh is really ugly. I just have to remind people, if you look at his face, he's one of the ugliest people ever. It's like, how dare you? How dare you try to blacklist and call one of the best American journalists we have dangerous? You're disgusting. You're disgusting. Like physically, your face looks like someone smushed it and then took like a Halloween jack-o'-lantern and mixed it with like one of those ugly masks that kids scare people. Like if I saw Dinesh on Halloween, I'd freak out. Oh, wait, that's just your face? No way. That's what your face looked like? Well, congratulations on your family, because I can't believe that face did that. That's proof. If you make enough money and you have enough success, women like that, because clearly it's not the face they're after. But in general, you're going to try to blacklist Tucker Carlson, call him dangerous, tell everybody to condemn him, call everybody bigoted when they talk about their racial group, when you're literally saying your racial group is taking over the country. It's beyond time to figure out what's going on here, and it's not Sharia law. I'm not saying that in the future or something, it's like maybe in the future, so many Muslims come to Minneapolis and they overrule the Jacob Frey's and the little socialist Marxist scumbags, and then they try to implement a more conservative thing. It's like, oh no, San Francisco is getting Sharia law and they're going to start outlawing all the gay stuff. Oh no. It's like, first of all, I don't want to be in San Francisco for either of those options, but like the fact that they have conservatives like deathly afraid of that, but not global homo, that's destroying everything they've ever known. And it's coming from both sides. The right wing's the fake opposition. They're the ones telling you they're fighting it while they're supporting it and stopping anybody from rising the ranks that actually wants to fix it. Let's move in and segue to the next one. Tucker Carlson seems genuine about wanting to fix it. The Zionists are trying to push him down. Thomas Massey is one of the best congressmen we have. Zionist donors are literally bankrolling millions of dollars against him and then crying anti-Semitism when he talks about it. And then you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has become probably even better than Thomas Massey, one of the most genuine, interesting politicians who's not just appealing to the right wing by the millions, and she always has, but now she's starting to appeal to moderates, independents, left-wingers. And let's listen to what Donald Donor Banker Puppet Trump has to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene, because it wouldn't be a Judas Goat fake opposition leader that Donald Trump is unless he took every single person that was actually trying to fix our country and tried to whack-a-mole him down for his donors so everybody could start thinking that the Lindsey Grahams of the world are actually his allies. So let's listen to what he said about Marjorie. Trump says that she's lost her way because she's lost the way with the donors that Trump works for. She's lost the way with the people that are fake opposition that Trump is beholden to and is. That's where she's lost her way. She hasn't lost her way. She's found her way. And Trump hates it because Trump's a piece of shit. So here we go. Let's watch. Sorry about that.
Meeting with the Syrian president earlier today, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a big ally of yours, said that she would rather see you focused on nonstop domestic policy meetings here at the White House instead of nonstop foreign policy meetings. What's your response to her saying that, and also saying that grocery prices are up and not down, as you've said?
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. But I have to view the presidency as a worldwide situation, not locally. I mean, we could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad president. We had a horrible president, and we ended up with Russia, Ukraine, and we ended up with other disasters, too. Don't forget, I put out 8 wars, 9 to come. I think I'll get the other one taken care of, but I put out 8 wars. And look at the damage that Russia, Ukraine has done to us as a country. I mean, we spent $350 billion. We're not spending any money anymore. Now they pay us through NATO. You know, I got NATO to go from 2% to 5%. Well, that's very important. When you're president, you really sort of have to watch over the world because you're going to be dragged into it otherwise. You're going to be dragged into a world war. I think if I weren't president, first of all, that war would have never happened if I was president. And if I weren't president, that war could have led to World War III. It won't. It's not going to anymore. But when I first got in, I said, wow, this situation could lead to World War III. And I got NATO together. I got everybody together. But with all of that, I passed a great, big, beautiful bill, which is the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country. So when somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now catering to the other side, I don't know what, I guess she's, got some kind of an act going, but I'm surprised at her. But when somebody like Marjorie goes over and starts making statements like that, it shows she doesn't know. I don't devote a lot of my time. Let me give you.
Real quick, guys, give me a thumbs up if it looks good. Give me a thumbs down if it's been lagging. And just let me know in the comment section too, because I've been reading, people say it's lagging a little bit. On my side, it doesn't seem like it. And someone said that like every YouTube video has been lagging. So maybe it's just YouTube. I don't think it's my stream. Let me know in the comments. I'm going to wait 10 or 15 seconds and then I'm going to comment. Looks like it's good. I don't think it's a my stream problem. I think it's like a YouTube problem. So if you're having lag right now, I think if you come back and try to watch it in like an hour, it probably should be completely fine. But with that being said, Marjorie is one of the few people in. Okay, cool. No lag. Yeah, I think it's a YouTube problem. But Marjorie's one of the few people in the Republican Party who doesn't take money from AIPAC, and she's not beholden to the donors. And I really hope people are starting to wake up to this. I mean, it definitely is like way more people are talking about this. Like, I think when I first figured it out, it felt very lonely because nobody knew what I was talking about. But, there's what people think the Republican Party is and what it actually is. And the thing with Trump is he's so likable that people stop thinking when it comes to Donald Trump. Like, I'll give you an example, and I might do a whole rant about this. I mean, I don't know if I should segue this hard after that Marjorie clip, but I kind of want to. When Trump was running against DeSantis in the primary, I was one of the only people, right? I'm not a DeSantis guy. I'm not like, I know there were a lot of really sneaky bad people in the Republican Party, like endorsing DeSantis. And then, people were trying to say it's Trump is the good guy and Alvin Bragg's trying to persecute him. And we need to go with Trump because he's not sold out to George Bush and the neocons. And, like DeSantis is a Bush guy. I told everybody this, and I feel like I will be vindicated on this if I'm not already. And I think a lot of people are starting to like agree with me. I don't try. Let me be very clear. And I'm not saying this for any other reason besides it's just the truth. And it's very justified based on how politics works. I don't trust Ron DeSantis. He's sold out to Israel, just like Trump is. He's sold out to those donors heavily. And yeah, but I told people this during the primary. I said, Trump is also sold out to those people. He just seems like he's not. If you look at every other topic besides Israel, which I came to the conclusion that Trump and DeSantis were equally sold out on. Some people, they like to believe that Trump isn't sold out because he acts different, but he's always been sold out, or at least since at least 2020, it seemed like, or 2019 even. But in general, I was like, I don't get why MAGA is being so rude to DeSantis. Yeah, I get you don't want him to run against Trump, but I'm not asking you to trust DeSantis. I just think it's crazy that you guys trust Donald Trump. I was like, I don't trust either of them, but I think DeSantis is better at leading. I think he's actually serious about a lot of topics. I think even though he's sold out to Israel, I think DeSantis is principled and very strict on other policies. I think he's actually Christian. Trump is none of these things. Trump is like a billionaire Hillary Clinton, Bill Gates friend who's completely unserious about every other topic. And when I said that during the primaries, we were like, oh, who paid you to say that? Nobody. I'm just not retarded. Like Trump's like, oh, I'm getting persecuted by Alvin Bragg. He's gonna fight the left for it. That's what you think, because they created this whole artificial narrative about Trump being this massive hero, and you don't have any proof that he's gonna do that. You just want him to do that, and you think because you want him to do that, even though he's shown no signs of doing that, you think it's just gonna happen because now all of a sudden Trump, they were mean to him, so now he's gonna be mean back. Like, it's not happening because it never was real. And I told people this during the primary. I said, Trump is worse than DeSantis. In the ways DeSantis is sold out, Trump is also sold out. Someone said DeSantis passed hate speech laws for Israel. So did Trump, though. Trump put in Pam Bondi, who's policing it on college campuses. Trump is rigging the immigration process to make sure that people trying to be a citizen aren't criticizing Israel or, to be honest, just telling the truth on Twitter. I'm not saying that DeSantis isn't sold out. I'm saying Trump is just as bad. He's literally just as bad. But on other topics, DeSantis is actually pretty good, and Trump is not. And everybody thought, oh, but DeSantis is a George Bush guy. I said, look at Trump's first term. He hired hundreds of George Bush people. And then people said, oh, well, he made a mistake. No, he didn't. You wish Trump made a mistake because you want to think he's different. Name one good person who's not completely sold out in his cabinet right now. You can't. He's got people slobbering over Marco Rubio, who's always been the perfect little donor boy. Marco Rubio, if he were a Superman, his name would be Donor Boy. He's like the perfect little donor puppet, and Trump used to make fun of him for that. Now Trump is also a donor puppet, so now he's tricking his base into thinking that Marco Rubio is some sort of hero. His whole cabinet sold out. His whole cabinet is like people DeSantis would have picked. So all I'm trying to say is I went back to the primaries, and it's like people thought that someone paid me to say that, or that I like George Bush. I can't stand George Bush. The difference between me and other people is they just think Trump isn't sold out because they don't want to believe that he is. And they were so hard on DeSantis. And I was like, I'm not asking you to go easy on DeSantis. I'm just saying treat Trump with the same scrutiny. Trump deserves the same exact scrutiny that DeSantis got. But for some reason, he didn't get it. People were like, well, it's different with Trump. How is it different? He was the president of the United States. He locked the country down. He bragged about it. He printed trillions of dollars. He gave people communist checks. He gave Fauci an award while his biggest supporters were rotting in prison. Trump doesn't give a shit about you guys. It's like, it's been delusional for so long now. I haven't liked Trump since 2020. I mean, there were times that I was still trying to give him a chance, and I'm always very patient. So you could point to times in 2020 that people could say, oh, well, you did this and you did that. Listen, I'm hoping for the best. I'm watching. I don't want vaccine mandates, but in general, I stopped liking or trusting Trump at least towards the end of 2020 at minimum. And it's like, since then, I just couldn't believe that so many people on our side believe him or trust him. I'm like, I get why you'd vote for him, but why do you trust him? Why do you it's like mind boggling to me. And people are, oh, I don't like DeSantis. It's like, okay, I don't trust DeSantis either, but why you think Trump's going to do better because you just want to believe he's Batman for 2 years, and then when he's not Batman and everyone realizes he sold out to the Adelsons and he sold out to the donors and he's a complete scumbag, then they're like, oh, I didn't see this coming. Trump changed. He's been that way for at least 5 years now. What are you talking? He didn't change. The difference is the influencer class for so long in my field. Basically, how real you were was like, how much were you willing to suck off Donald Trump metaphorically? And someone's like, metaphorically, I suck off Donald Trump every day. And someone's like, well, metaphorically, I do it every hour. Someone's like, I dress up in a brick suit and I go to every MAGA. It's like, cool. Brick suit's a nice guy. I like brick suit. I'm not trying to throw shots at him. Sorry about that brick suit. But in general, it's like, that's what people were doing. It's like, that's not journalism. It's like professional just sucking off. Like that makes you a patriot because you suck up to Trump harder? What about doing your job for the American citizens and realizing that he's taking hundreds of millions of dollars of donor money in order to sell our country out like everybody else? Like, people ignored stuff about Trump for 5 years straight. That's why no matter how many breaks I take, no matter, how inconsistent I am, obviously my numbers are going to suffer a little bit if I don't do videos all the time. But you see, if I post anywhere or I say anything, it carries a lot of weight because people remember nobody was saying this 6 years ago. Like, Anomaly was, maybe everybody's coming to that conclusion. Like, maybe he was right. Maybe I just didn't want to believe it. Dude, I'm trying to do journalism. I'm not sitting here just picking on Trump for no reason. He took hundreds of millions of dollars to sell our country out, and everybody ignored it because they acted like, in order to be the best patriot, let's lie to ourselves and let's lie to everybody else. And what I was telling you, as somebody who actually knows how these things work, you think that they're better than me or better people than me because they're lying to you in order to save face with that whole world. And I'm telling you, they get rewarded for it. It's like, if you speak against that, you don't get invited to parties, you don't get invited to events, you lose a lot of money. And you basically, if you tell the truth about Israel, you can't work at almost any Republican media organization. So it's like you're worshiping people that are literally lying to you purposely in order to get opportunities, in order to suck up to politicians. And then you think that that's patriotism or activism, when in reality, the exact opposite was always true. It's just people are starting to figure it out now. And now the counterculture is picking up more steam, because as it should, it's like, that's the truth. So with Trump and him going at Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm not saying he doesn't do anything good. You know, I understand why people would want to vote for Trump. Even with me voting for Trump, there's two things that I always thought. I mean, with the RFK stuff, that's a dice roll to see what they would do. With Ukraine war, clearly Trump failed to stop it, and he's not even trying anymore. So that was a total flop. But in general, two things I was like, there's still no matter, like, if I could go back, I wouldn't change anything, because I think Trump needed to win. The border being closed, I think, is a huge benefit. Like, the things that he's doing on that front, even though it's not as much as some people would like, just closing the border and taking it away from Mayorkas is going to save America like 50 years. That's, somebody had to do that. But also, if Trump would have lost this election and Democrats would have won, Republicans would have said, well, Trump will fix it, or the next Republican. Like, everyone would have just blamed the left again and been like, oh, the right's going to come save us. Because even after 2020, like Stockholm syndrome to the max, even after being locked down and even after all of Trump's little vaccine schemes, people still said, yeah, I know I have Stockholm syndrome and I'm in love with my slave master, but I just want to assume that they made a mistake. Like, the grace is so beautiful from the right. Unfortunately, they're giving it to people that don't care about them. So like 90% of the right was still saying they trusted Trump, was still saying they liked Trump, and was still under this illusion that he was going to fix the problem. So if Trump didn't win the election, which it's probably all staged anyway, but let's just say Trump loses the election, Mayorkas leaves the border open for 4 years. Tens of millions of more people get in. The country is beyond cooked. It's irredeemable at that point, and it's probably completely screwed, even though it low-key already is. But, that saved a huge portion. But also, then Republicans never would have learned a lesson. They would have been like, oh, I don't, 4 more years, then we'll go vote for, like, it needed to be Trump. He needed the keys to the castle, and everybody needed to see who he really was. And now we saved ourselves 4 more years. Not only did he close the border, but we don't have to go through 8 years of pretending like, oh, the other person's going to fix it. They're not going to fix it. I haven't thought they were going to fix it for a long time. So I'm not as stupid as people think I am, where they're like, oh, do you regret this or that? No, look at what's going on. All of social media is awake to the topics that I was talking about 6 years ago. It's now mainstream for people to realize that the Israel lobby exists and has a lot of control. And Donald Trump is humiliating himself because he's a total cornball and he's not doing almost anything right besides closing the border. So it's like, if that's who Trump is, then that's just who he is. Like, who are my favorite Republicans? Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's not even close. Marjorie Taylor Greene's more Christian and definitely like awake on a lot of topics now. Thomas Massie is more libertarian, and, he tells the truth about the Israel lobby. And Trump hates both of them. He's saying, oh, I don't know what happened to them. They're the solution, and Trump is trying to knock them down. Trump is the fake opposition leader. He's not the guy to rally behind for the next 20 years. If Republicans want to rally behind Trump for the next 20 years, Republicans lose everything. He needed to get in because he's better than Kamala and Biden, but people need to figure out that he's not our guy. He's the guy, he's the president, but he's not really our guy. And we don't have 20 years for boomers and people who act like boomers to just sit and act like he's our best friend. He's not. And if he wouldn't have won this election, people would have said in 2028, then the Republicans will save us. No, they won't. This needed to happen. I'm still glad it happened. But the real message is, people need to figure out that the Republican Party is completely compromised. Trump is their puppet now, and anybody that is honest will be knocked down. Matt Gaetz would have been a great attorney general. They threw him out for Pam Bondi so she could do what she does, which is nothing. Marjorie Taylor Greene's good. Trump's saying she has a problem now. Thomas Massey's good. Trump's trying to kick him out. Rand Paul, I could understand why they don't like Rand Paul. But if you look at Rand Paul and Thomas Massey's voting record, if you listen to J.D. Vance, he's like, we can't get this guy to vote for Republicans. They both vote with Republicans over 90-something% of the time. They just don't vote for Israeli speech laws, foreign aid, spending bills, or some stupid omnibus crap that has a million things in one bill. Those are the only thing that Rand Paul and Massey don't vote for. Am I just like Thomas Massey? No. Am I just like, would I be like Rand Paul if I were in government? To be honest, probably not. Some things he does are a little cringe to me. However, I really don't disagree with that much of what he's saying. Like, Trump's tariffs are retarded. They're unconstitutional, and they're not really helping at all. Trump's now like a communist. He's like, we're going to tax everybody and then give $2,000 to certain people. Which people? Everybody except for the wealthy. What do you mean by wealthy, Donald Trump? Do you mean like wealthy as in like Bill Gates, or you mean wealthy as in like a couple makes over $200,000 a year? Because that's not real. That's wealthier than most people, but that's not really like that wealthy nowadays, considering how much inflation, if you have a family to feed and stuff. So it's like, if you're giving $2,000 to everybody except for people that own businesses and small businesses, and you know what I'm saying, have worked hard their whole life to make it's $200,000 a year. We're like, you're basically just Robin Hood. You're just stealing money from some people. You're taxing some people. Consumers are paying for it, and then you're just handing it off like an EBT card. It's the same BS that everyone complains about. So it's like, I actually agree with Rand Paul on tariffs. I don't think the tariffs are for us. I don't think the tariffs are helping. If he could pay down the national debt, that would be fascinating, but I don't really see that happening right now. But anyway, this is all very necessary. Like, most people don't ever speak out because they know Trump will come down on them like a hammer. I'm so glad Marjorie is being who she is this year, because she's being very bold and brave and honest. And it was only a matter of time until Trump shit on her, because that's who Trump is. Trump is the Rubio guy. Trump is the Lindsey Graham guy. Trump is the Miriam Adelson guy. Trump is not the America First guy. He's not the Marjorie Taylor Greene guy. He's not the, let's get foreign influence out of America. Trump is foreign influence in America. He thinks that a foreign nation should own our Congress. He went on a podcast and said, Israel used to control Congress. Now they don't. That's a problem. I don't get it. What's there not to get? Why would a foreign nation control our Congress? That's crazy. But that's 95% of the Republican Party. That's all the idiots that Dinesh D'Souza constantly defends, and then he smears anybody who talks about it. That's our problem. Like, for me personally, I would unregister. If they successfully kick Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey out of the party, which they won't, if they did, I'd unregister. That's what I want. There's nothing else there for me. If that's not the direction of Trump, which obviously it's not, I'm out. I don't want the Dinesh D'Souzas. I didn't vote for the Mark Levins. I didn't vote for the Ben Shapiros. I didn't vote for Miriam Adelson. That's not what I want. I can't speak for other people, but if that's who Trump wants to be, here's what I've been, and anybody who's watched my show over the last 5 years, they know this. I've asked people for years, stop babying Donald Trump. The whole reason that we're going to get screwed over and over and over and over and over again, and all these people are going to go, I can't believe this. Oh my gosh, I can't believe Trump did that. It's because everybody babies him. But I understand why they baby him. I've taken a lot of risk. I've lost a lot of money. I've lost a lot of access. That's the path I chose because I felt like it was the honorable thing to do. However, you have to understand, all these people who baby Donald Trump, they're doing it because they know how petty he is. If they badmouth Donald Trump, he's going to badmouth them back. If they do real journalism on Donald Trump, they don't get a press pass anymore. They don't get invited to the White House. They don't get to speak at the conferences. Like, it's all a big donor circle jerk. And you basically have to be a Zionist ass kisser, or else you can't get access to anywhere. And that's why they were so mad at Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk was allowing Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and Dave Smith to speak at his events. And all the Zionists, look at all their tweets about Charlie Kirk before he died. They were freaking out about it because forever they controlled almost everything. Turning Point, Daily Wire, PragerU, Fox News, Newsmax. You pretty much can't do anything in Republican infrastructure if you're not going to work for the Zionists. And then Charlie Kirk, who his entire career did work for the Zionists, he decided, you know what? Yeah, I believe that still. However, I think I'm going to let Tucker Carlson say what he thinks. I'm going to let Megyn Kelly say, and they hated that, and they told him not to, and they tortured Charlie, just like Tucker Carlson said, till his final days. And a lot of it is public. You could just find their tweets where they're saying Charlie Kirk's an anti-Semite, Charlie Kirk's ushering in neo-Nazism. Like, that's what the Zionists do. They exist in a Republican space to push their agenda. And the second anyone even gets 2% of power, they bring the whole house down on you and convince everyone you're a bad anti-Semite, like they're doing to Tucker Carlson. That's the whole name of the game. So, you know, all these influencers that baby Donald Trump, they're not doing it because they're good people, and they're not doing it because they really care about you. They're doing it because they know that their mainstream career is taken away as soon as they do that. But here's the thing. It's like in the music industry. If you make deals with the devil, then you just made a deal with the devil. So then you got to deal with the devil. You know what I'm saying? Make a deal with the devil, deal with the devil. That's your deal. You know, I'm not saying everybody's a devil in Republican media, but it's like all these people, they I don't know. I guess some of them now are breaking away because they realize they could podcast. And that's why you're hearing more truth. Because a lot of them, it's like a game where the same way you wouldn't leave a job unless you had another job lined up, I don't think they wanted to lose everything. So now that they could podcast, you see people like Brett Cooper sliding away, Candace Owens sliding away, Tucker Carlson sliding away. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but it's like, oh, this is a perfect time to pivot. I could actually make money and not have to rely on these people in order to have a career, because there's more independent routes now, which is a good thing that there's more independent routes. I'm not saying everybody's doing the best job or anything, but it's not bad to have people that can create an ecosystem outside the Republican ecosystem. But that's what it is. Everything I just said is what it really is. And the base needs to wake up. The whole reason when I was like, why did I even go on that spiel? When the base stops babying Donald Trump, then we get something done. Donald Trump is the leader. He's the moral leader. He's the president. He's the number one Republican by far. Number two is not even close. Like, Donald Trump is everything in the Republican Party right now. People need to stop babying him. If people stop just acting like Trump is so awesome, then he's going to, similar to even like Dinesh, it's like these people start exposing themselves and kind of like showing you who they really are when they face a little bit of like tension between the other side, where it's like with me, you know, like everything I say, I mean, I'm not hiding anything. But with Trump, he doesn't have to face any pressure from his side, from his base, because they always just baby him. When he endorses Lindsey Graham next year, what are people going to do? They're going to boo him for 5 seconds and then go back. You know, he's going to do some little YMCA dance and they're going to forget it ever happened, just like it did 2 years ago. Like, Trump needs to face the scrutiny of a Lindsey Graham, of a George Bush. Like, he can't just dance his way out of it and just act like he's not that. Even with all the war stuff, he didn't end the war in Ukraine. Israel absolutely demolished Palestine. Like, doing a peace deal now, it's like the entire country is blown up. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does a peace deal matter when an entire country is blown up? It's way too late. I mean, hopefully people stop dying now, but they did everything they wanted. Trump didn't do anything. Trump's not stopping 1,000 wars. He's literally starting a war with Venezuela, escalating wars in Iran a little bit, but not enough to like people to care. He isn't stopping the war in Ukraine. He's funding and bankrolling the war in Ukraine, and he's proud of it, and he blames Putin now. He's not like stopping wars. He's literally just rebranding them to make Republicans fall for it, like George Bush did. This isn't the Department of Defense. This is the Department of War now, with Pete Hegseth, the Fox News host. It's George Bush slop all over again, just convincing you that now he's regained the military, so now we can blow up boats in Venezuela. It's like, all right, cool. Someone said, anomaly, there's no country called Palestine. Dan, I don't know what, like, whatever you want to say, my guy. I get it. They killed tens of thousands of people, babies, journalists, and they controlled demolition in an entire region. If you want to call it not a country, then you can call it not a country. If someone wants to call it a country, whatever it is, Israel killed tens of thousands of people, a bunch of journalists, a bunch of babies. It's sick. It's disgusting. And it doesn't make you an anti-Semite for realizing it. And I don't want to fund it. And I don't want that country controlling my country. And I think Trump is a total sellout and a scammer. So if that bothers you, I don't care. You know, you can not call it a country. Whatever region you want to think it is, they blew it up. I don't know. Are you denying that or something? Who cares? Someone said, you must not know about the history of Zionism and or Zionist supporter. I can agree with you, though. That was a hateful thing to say. I don't know what you mean, but I do know the history of Zionism and the fact that it was given to the Rothschilds through the Balfour Declaration and Theodore Herzl, the architect of Zionism. I know it all, so maybe you don't know the history. But someone said a bunch of terrorists. Dan, once again, let me ask you this. You will justify, or some people will, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. Some people will justify the slaughtering of a bunch of babies and kids and say that it's a bunch of terrorists. But when a former Al-Qaeda leader who was wanted a year ago goes to the White House and shakes hands with Donald Trump, he's not a terrorist. So a grown adult who is in Al-Qaeda shouldn't be held accountable. But a bunch of babies should just be blown off the map because Zionists have bloodlust and want to kill them and then say it's blood libel if you say that they're doing it. You know, Fox News and Newsmax has made a bunch of Republicans into like sick, evil demons. And I'm not a perfect person. I don't control the rules. We all have our own issues that we're dealing with. But, you know, I would pray that Republicans and especially Christians really come to their senses. Because if you get your news from Zionist media, they're literally making your head sick. Like you've literally come to a conclusion where you're like, babies getting blown up is fighting terrorism, but a literal adult who was part of Al-Qaeda and probably was responsible for killing Americans, it's okay that he meets at the White House because Zionist media told me so. Like they're literally turning you guys into demons. So I pray for people because I'd hate to be the person that justifies that. I would hate to be a Christian Republican justifying the slaughter of babies because psychopath puppets on Fox News, Newsmax, and Zionist media told me that it was okay, you know, because at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own brain and your own thoughts. And I don't think any baby, any innocent person, any country, I don't wish that on anybody because I'm a decent person. But if you want to justify the slaughter of babies and journalists, but not notice that they're meeting with adults who work for Al-Qaeda at the White House, something is wrong. But I know what's wrong with your head because it's what they did to everybody's head for the last 30 years, which is how they destroyed America and did a bunch of regime change wars that have not improved our life. Is the economy better than it was 30 years ago? Is crime better than it was 30 years ago? Are major cities better than it was 30 years ago? Is our infrastructure better than it was 30 years ago? Is social cohesion better than it was 30 years ago? Is conservative and biblical Christianity more rampant than it was 30 years ago? It is in the country, but it's not in our representatives because our representatives don't represent us. They work for the donors. All these fake Christians, all these fake conservatives, it's not that I could tell if they're really a real Christian or not, but as far as their leadership is not for Christ and not for Christians. It's for the people bankrolling them who hate Christians and hate you. And our country reflects it. Name one thing that's better than it was when the war on terror started. And then you got a bunch of these Zionist news hosts running around mainstream news being like, there's going to be a terrorist attack in America. There's going to be a terrorist attack. It's going to be ISIS. It's going to be Al-Qaeda. Well, first of all, we've been fighting the war on terror for 30 years. We voted for Donald Trump, and you're fear-mongering about terror attacks in America. Fucking stop them. That's why we voted for you. And also, if you look at ISIS, they apologized to one country. Google who they apologized to. An Al-Qaeda guy is literally in the White House because Donald Trump in the West is thrilled that an Al-Qaeda terrorist took over Syria. So if you're going to tell me that ISIS, if a bunch of Zionists are going to go on the media and tell me that ISIS and Al-Qaeda are going to attack us in America, I'm just going to assume it's a false flag because all the logic, evidence, and reason points towards that. These groups were not that unknown to our intelligence communities, our leaders. And I think there's more evidence now to show that guy who's leading Syria is a Western plant than there is that he's some foreign terrorist that they never knew. Yeah, they know all about the terrorists because they are the terrorists. They fund the terrorists. They do the terrorism. And this is what I thought in the 2000s. And everybody thought I was crazy because it's a crazy thing to think. Like, I love America, right? I'm not some like anti-American like libtard, but I came to the conclusion just based on research, evidence, and everything. We are the terrorists. We are funding the terrorism. You understand what I'm saying? Our country that's supposed to be fighting them are bankrolling these terrorist organizations that did 9/11 or at bare minimum fighting alongside them in Syria. And nobody wanted to believe that because it's too sick to believe. These people went into, went into planes, knocked down the towers, killed thousands of us. And then 20 years later, an Al-Qaeda terrorist is in the White House. Doesn't that prove that they were never really on the other team? Like, does that not ring a bell? So that's my problem with Zionists who are spurging out because they listen to too much Fox News, fake opposition media. You won't hold an adult terrorist responsible, probably because our government probably planted that guy or worked alongside him. But you're going to say that babies who are like 8 years old are terrorists, or kids that are like 8 years old. They're terrorists, but not actual terrorists who did 9/11. Like, no one freaking believes you guys anymore. It's like the narrative makes absolutely no sense. And that's what Charlie was trying to say as well when he was alive. He was pro-Israel. He was a Zionist. And he was like, bro, this PR sucks. You know what I'm saying? Charlie defended Israel most of his life. And he knew how bad the PR was. Like, the PR was like, babies are terrorists because of an election that happened 20 years ago. Like, literally no one that's not completely like brain drained from Zionist media believes that. It used to be most of the country, but now most of the country doesn't get their news from flaming Zionists, which bothers a lot of people because they want people to get their news from them. But, anyway. Someone said anomaly, Charlie Kirk didn't work for the Zionists. Charlie Kirk was a proud Zionist. He was a Zionist. He loved Israel. He called himself a Zionist. I don't like, my guy, God bless you, my brother, but you just get bothered by everything. I'm not even saying it as a bad thing. I'm just saying Charlie Kirk, most of his life, if not all of his life, loved Israel, loved Zionists, worked for Zionists, was a Zionist, ran an organization that did things for Zionists, had Zoom call meetings with Zionists to talk about how to defend Zionism. Charlie Kirk was a Zionist himself. I'm not saying it in a mean way. You're mad at that? Charlie Kirk didn't work with Zionists. He was a Zionist. He absolutely worked with Zionists. Everyone knows that. No one would deny that. I'm not saying it's like, how that worked out or who paid for what, or, I don't know. Charlie did run a nonprofit. So yeah, he took money from a bunch of donors. That's the reality of the situation. What those conversations were with what donors for what topic, you could talk to Tyler Covert about that. I'm sure he could explain it, but this is not like it's not some bombshell or anything. Someone said he worked for, bro. Let me say this, my guy. And this is no disrespect to the late, great Charlie Kirk. If you completely bankroll your entire organization, then you work for yourself. When you take money from donors, you work for donors. Donald Trump works for donors. Donald Trump is a total puppet. Dan Crenshaw, all of these people, they're taking money and, they do things. I mean, they'll probably say, I'm just doing things that I want to do. Well, then don't take the money. You know what I'm saying? If I took $100,000 from somebody, which I don't, I'm sure I'd have to do something for it. Why would they just pay me for nothing? So Charlie, everybody knows this. And I said it when he was alive, rest in peace. Charlie's like a middleman. He's not just like a podcaster. He runs a nonprofit where his nonprofits have taken tens or hundreds of millions of dollars from donors. And in order to take that money, there's conversations and deals being made. Charlie was basically like a politician. So you could say what you want or get offended by something, but he absolutely worked with and worked for a lot of people. Now, was he like a giant victim of that? I don't think so. I'm not saying Charlie was a victim. He was a young kid turned grown man who did what he wanted. He took money from who he wanted. He said what he wanted. He didn't say what he wanted. I'm not saying he's a victim, but it's like, just like, I don't know. You're just getting like offended by the phrasing of it, but it's okay. Someone said Charlie Kirk wouldn't be Charlie Kirk. He wouldn't have had Turning Point if he wasn't a Zionist. I mean, that's almost definitely true. Yeah, 100%. And that's why it was such a big dramatic thing towards the end of his life, because, dude, I've been to Turning Point multiple times. I saw the difference in this year versus the last time. In the last time, they would screen people's social medias, and if you criticize Zionism or the speech laws, they'd call you and say, I don't know if you should come to this event or not. They absolutely, like, that happened to me. They called me and revoked my pass a couple years ago because I was talking about Zionism and Turning Point and saying, like, but then they gave me the pass back. This year was totally different. This is why the Dinesh D'Souza's of the world are freaking out. It's unheard of that someone like Tucker Carlson could say what he said at a Turning Point stage. Why would that be so shocking to so many people if it wasn't a Zionist organization that one of its main tenets was Zionism? Turning Point, yes, it was a Christian organization. It was a liberty-based organization, but Zionism was one of its main tenets that it was, its leaders preached. It was baked into everything that they did. And if you weren't a part of that for a long time, it was not really a welcoming place for you. And then it became a welcoming place because Charlie realized that the dam had broken. Too many Republicans felt this way. So he was trying to, I think, be a good Zionist and moderate the debate and realize that a lot of his employees were not on his side. And, that like Tucker Carlson didn't agree with him. And like Charlie was trying to be the middle ground between the Zionists and people that, call themselves America First and are critical of it. And he was trying to kind of like balance those books. And there were a lot of people that hated that he was balancing those books, and 99% of the people that were pissed at Charlie for, hosting Tucker Carlson were Zionists. It's not like every Zionist is paying attention to Turning Point or every, there's left-wing Zionists, there's right-wing Zionists, there's Israeli Zionists, there's Christian Zionists. I'm not trying to like overly simplify it, but it just is what it is. Someone said when Hugo Chavez died in 2013, the media was tearing him down because he was against Israel, what they were doing to the Palestinians. Dude, most media is Zionist media. I don't know any other way to say it. Like if you look at all mainstream media, Ben Shapiro goes on CNN to talk with Jake Tapper about anti-Semitism and this and that. It's all just different sides of the same coin. I'm not saying they all have the same exact beliefs, but it's like, it's all this one big control system circus that the world becomes the matrix if you talk about that topic in a way that they don't want you to. So, it is what it is. If people don't want to hear that, or I don't know what to really tell you, but I can't really think of very many media organizations in America that have any sort of systemic power that don't have that ideology, in my view, to such an extreme that it almost prioritizes anything, where it's like if that's the bar for CNN, but nothing else is the bar for CNN, if that's the bar for Fox News, but a lot of other things aren't the bar for Fox News, and that's the bar for Newsmax, and that's the bar for Daily Wire, it becomes a pattern that you can't not notice, that it's like CNN has like no morals. They don't agree with almost anything I believe. But on that topic, they sound eerily similar to Fox News. And, Jake Tapper is an establishment stooge. And, why does he want to have Ben Shapiro on to talk about anti-Semitism and bigotry, but he doesn't want to have other people on to talk about other things on the right? Because that's who Jake Tapper is. Jake Tapper is a gatekeeper. Jake Tapper is he's the news guy for CNN. But they all seem to have one thing that they all have in common. And if they don't, then it seems like it's really hard to work at these organizations. There's one guy, Mehdi Hassan. I don't even like Mehdi Hassan at all, but Mehdi Hassan was very critical of Israel, and he's gone from MSNBC because it's like an unwritten rule in media. It's like you can be an Arab shitlib leftist who says all these things, but you can't be a shitlib leftist who calls out Israel. You know what I'm saying? They want their little characters they want their Jesse Waters. Hey, it's Jesse Waters. It's Laura Ingraham. Whoa. And then you got, Jake Tapper, Wolf Blitzer. Whoa. man, oh man, Wolf Blitzer, that's crazy. And then you got, but as long as you're that character, but you don't cross that line, was Wolf Blitzer and let me see. I'm just looking it up real quick. Wolf Blitzer was the editor. That's the guy, the left-wing moderate or central guy at CNN. Wolf Blitzer was the editor of Near East Report, which was a publication owned by AIPAC during the 1970s. At the time, he was a Washington correspondent for the Jerusalem Post. Wow. CNN, everybody hates CNN on the right, and one of their leading voices is a guy who used to work for the Jerusalem Post and also a news organization owned by AIPAC, which is a political organization that funds Democrats and Republicans as long as they like Israel. They don't care about your other policies. You could be a gun grabber, you could be pro Second Amendment, you could be this, you could be that. But if you support Israel, they fund you. And that's Wolf Blitzer. That's the CNN that they tell everybody about on Fox News. Oh, CNN is so left-wing. Oh, sure. They push left-wing degeneracy and left-wing filth and left-wing social issues. But on that topic, is Wolf Blitzer going to sound anything like a left-winger who didn't work for those organizations? Of course not. Someone said the Fox people are whack. They just are who they are. They're allowed to be there because they're inconsequential, Their whole world is fake. And this is what Bill Cooper used to talk about. It's like you shower these people with money, you shower these people with gifts and events, and they don't care. If they ever became consequential, they'd get Tucker Carlson's. Like Tucker Carlson was the most consequential person at Fox News for the last 10 years. He's not there anymore. Like Greg Gutfeld, Greg Gutfeld gets lavished with praise. He's so funny. Yeah, he's funny in the sense of he can make you go ha ha ha, but he's not going to rock the boat of the donors. He's not going to rock the boat of the establishment. He's not going to say anything of consequence. And there's certain topics that he either has to be wrong about or he has to believe things that are not necessarily in America's interest. And, whether I've never even met the guy, but it's like everybody knows I think certain things like with Matt Walsh and stuff, he always acts like I'm America first. Yeah, he is. I like Matt Walsh, but there's certain topics that whether Matt will admit it or not, he just doesn't want to look at, because it's like if you look at it, you kind of know you're going to end up with a certain position. And if you end up with too strong of a position, then you lose your position where you're at, you probably, you know what I'm saying? So it's like Matt, yeah, he's America first and he doesn't believe in foreign aid, but he never really goes that hard at that topic. Like he used to write articles about the Israel lobby where in depth he was going in multiple pages talking about the Israel lobby. He hasn't done that at Daily Wire. He just says, I don't know what that but it's like same with like a Greg Gutfeld or something. I have no idea what he thinks about certain topics, but it's like, if you're making this type of money and you're living a good life and you have a bunch of people that you think are your friends and they're helping you produce stuff, why look there? Because if you look there, you might find something. You might find something that then becomes a conflict with what you're saying. And then you have to basically act, or else if you don't act, you don't, you don't lose your position, or you do lose your position. Someone said, what news channel has journalists who don't pander? Nothing on television. Glenn Greenwald seems pretty honest. A lot of podcasts seem like they're just going from the hip. I would say everybody has their own sort of pandering, but on that topic, like who actually reports about that stuff, I think Sagar and GD seems pretty honest. Tucker, he's not my be all end all, but he doesn't give a crap on that topic. People like Max Blumenthal definitely don't give a crap on that topic, but I don't really follow. It's not like I'm a big fan or I really know what else he's talking about. But on that topic, these are people that stand out to me that are willing to say something else on it. But I guess it's probably some independently owned organization. There's some guy right now, I think it's called like Drop Site News or something. They're doing Epstein disclosure of some sort, like showing who he worked with based on some stuff. I don't know. I don't like I said, I kind of just take it all in my feed. But yeah, nothing on television. All right. I'm probably going to go like 10 more minutes and keep it somewhat brief. Someone said, Matt Walsh said he doesn't care about Gaza when all his tax money goes there. I mean, like I said, I haven't heard what he said about Gaza. And to be honest, I'm not going to judge him on because I don't know what he said. I'm not going to go off of second info. I think Matt Walsh is consistent on that topic, but by consistent, it's almost like barely talk about it. Like there's no documentary, there's no full length report, there's no hardline stance. It's basically like, yeah, I agree with you guys. Let me go over here, And I just personally, I just don't think Matt would do that if he didn't pretty much have to do that. And I think Matt is trying to like fight that publicly, like be like, you guys are wrong about me. And it's like, I don't give Matt any issues, but I'm just saying, I think he's lying to himself about it. And I think he like, he could say whatever he wants, but I think it's better if he just does his thing. Cause I don't think most people outside of his base are ever going to respect him until he talks about it more. Cause you could be like, I don't agree with any foreign influence. Yeah, but are you willing to really dive into how much foreign influence is there? I'm fine with him talking about Islamicists and you know what I'm saying? Like, sure, dude, I don't like Mamdani. I don't care. But like that whole, oh, they're taking over America. Like it's laughable to anybody that is looking at what's really going on. Like, do Muslims own all the porn companies? Do Muslims own all the media companies? Are Muslims two of the biggest donors on the left wing or right wing? Is George Soros a Muslim? Is Miriam Edison a Muslim? I'm not trying to be. Is there a Muslim political action committee that lobbies and has like a 90-something% success rate where they're trying to get rid of any politician that is America first? Like Matt knows all this stuff. So I'm not saying go ahead, talk about Muslims, talk about Islam, talk about foreign nations, talk about Qatar. I don't give a shit. I don't like it. Just like Matt says, I don't care about any foreign influence, but the Matt Walshes of the world will try to act like I don't notice one bit more than it's like there's one that is like 99% more intrusive. It controls the entire right. Like I said, I was beloved by the Republican establishment to some extent, not the establishment, but like the Trump world. Every door was open for me. And then I said that they're passing speech laws for Israel, and then every door closed. And if Matt would have done the same thing in 2019, every door would have closed on him too, and he never would have been able to work at the Daily Wire. So Matt's trying to trick everybody into thinking like, I'm consistent. I don't notice that one. I don't want to talk about that one, but I want to talk about Islamists taking over New York City. Talk about it, bro. I'm not afraid of it. But like literally anybody with half a brain that's done research over the last 6 years that knows what's going on, like, and who's bankrolling stuff, everybody know, like he's only lying to himself. Nobody's buying the little shtick anymore unless they're friends with him, just trying to like prop him up. It's like I like Matt Walsh, but it's like he's only lying to himself. We all know what's going on the right. We all know what's going on the left. And we know that you would not be able to be there if you actually dove into it. So you saying, this is just how I am. This is just how I think. Maybe, but I don't believe that I don't believe that you wouldn't go harder on this topic if you could, or if you were away from that establishment, because everyone saw what they did to Candace over what since then, Candace, and this is not to her, but like if you're Daily Wire, you're responsible kind of for everything your news hosts do. Like, it reflects on your brand. So like now, and this is in no way is this disrespectful to Candace. I'm just being honest. Like I could see why they wouldn't want to be part of what Candace is doing, because she's doing like Macron, this, like she's all like, I could see them. They don't have to want to do what Candace is doing. But to me, because I was very following it closely when she was still at Daily Wire, I didn't find anything she did before that. Like I thought she was doing pretty basic stuff. Since then, she's gotten way deeper on it because she doesn't care anymore. But at Daily Wire, like I didn't think she was doing that much. She was just questioning things they didn't want to question, talking about Israel. I didn't think she was doing it. I thought she was doing it very classily and very professionally, to be honest. Like she had proof and receipts for everything she was saying. And that was too much for them. You don't think Matt Walsh saw that and was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you think Matt Walsh really thought to himself when he saw that, oh, that was totally justified? No, he was probably thinking, dang, that was crazy. Like she wasn't even really saying that much. And I believe a lot of those things too. And I don't disagree. You think Matt Walsh disagreed with like anything Candace was saying when she got fired from Daily Wire? go, if they even still have them online, go watch all of her final videos debating rabbis and doing stuff at Daily Wire. She was in the zone. Like she wasn't being, and like I said, I'm not saying she's being crazy now, but she's definitely different now. And I'm not saying in a bad way, but it's like she's doing more. She's way loose. You know what I'm saying? And like now she works for herself. She's responsible for herself. She's doing whatever she wants. And it is what it is. But like, I'm only saying that to say, like, I thought what she was doing at Daily Wire, I'm not going to say it was tame, but it was tamer than what she's doing now. Like it wasn't that crazy. It was very, I think, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing because she worked at Daily Wire, etc., she probably had respect for the fact she's working for a big news organization. And she was very careful with everything she was saying and had receipts for everything she was saying. So I feel like she's going way harder now. And I feel like when they fired her or didn't want to work with her then, I personally don't think Matt Walsh would have watched any of those videos when Candace was at Daily Wire and I don't think he would have disagreed with any of it. Now I think he might watch some of Candace's videos and disagree with a few things and agree with some things. But when she was I don't think he saw that and said, oh yeah, she was being crazy. I bet Matt watched her videos and was like, dang, she's right. You know what I'm saying? Like I think all those things myself. Like, and that's the thing. It's like everybody knows that. And Matt's facing some of the same pressure that Charlie was facing from the Zionists, right? Just like, you know, people getting mad at him, because deep down, all of them know that Matt thinks that way too, because Matt isn't a total puppet. Matt is an America First guy. Matt is a Christian. He is in America. He doesn't, Matt's philosophy is not Zionism. And they know that. So I feel like they hate Matt Walsh anyway. He's trying to, you know, play the fence and I don't, you know, just to save face. They don't like him. They don't like him. As soon as he leaves and starts speaking up, they're going to hate him just as much as they hate everyone else. Look at Brett Cooper. Brett Cooper left within 2 months. She's saying that Randy Fine should probably go back to Israel because he'd enjoy it more. That's pretty like, but it's pretty ballsy stuff. You think Brett Cooper could have been at the Daily Wire being like, you know, Randy Fine seems to like Israel so much. Why doesn't he live there? I think it would make him happy. That's like super based. You know what I'm saying? Like for Brett Cooper, she probably knew, I can't be myself here. Sayonara. Let me go talk my shit on my own podcast. Like, I'm sorry for getting too much into it, but Matt Walsh is only lying to himself. We like you, Matt. We appreciate you. We're not saying you're a bad guy. I don't think you're being fake. I just think you are lying to yourself and, you know, lying to yourself if you think you'd say exactly what you're saying now if you were gone. And if not, then why not do a whole segment on the Israel lobby, just like you wrote in an article before you worked at Daily Wire? Go find, like, I could read that article to you and you would be like, whoa, cool, the anti-Semitism. And not like Matt Walsh was saying that before I even knew what the Israel lobby was. He was writing articles about it, basically just laughing at the fact that an American politician had to be loyal to Israel. It makes no sense. Matt knows all of these things. Matt was saying crazier stuff than I'm saying now 10 years ago. He's lying to himself if he thinks we all don't know. We all know. People that know what I know that Matt knows. The Zionists know that Matt knows. Everybody knows. Matt's just trying to, you know, play this role. I get it, because he, you know, I'm not saying you have to let people push you in a direction you're not. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to pick a side. It's just like he's just trying to fight with people on social media. Like, no, I'm saying exactly what I want. You know, I've been consistent on this. Consistent, yes. Do I think he's being fake? No. Do I think he knows that he just shouldn't lean into those topics there? 100%. But it's whatever, you know? All right. Okay, Dan. I appreciate the discussion, Dan. Anomaly, tell us how I would fix the problem. And you kind of said like expel people. No, I'm not expelling anybody. That's not what I would do. What I would do to fix this issue is just have an honest discussion about it. If honestly, you know what I'll say here? Even though DeSantis is kind of a sellout on this topic, I think because he does so many things for Florida, it makes it a little bit more tolerable. I don't agree with DeSantis on that topic. I don't agree with the speech laws. I don't agree at all. But I do give credit to DeSantis because he's done 50 other good things for Florida. I think he's actually a great governor. I think he did a pretty great job during COVID. I think Joseph Lopado is a good hire. Even though I don't disagree with DeSantis, I think DeSantis is better than Trump. I think he's better than Dan Crenshaw, like Tom Cotton. These people don't do anything for us. At least DeSantis does do things for people of Florida and does that. To me, that's the solution. I think the Zionists in the press and the Zionists in politics, they just need to compromise a little bit more and do more things for Americans and do more things for Republicans and conservatives and Christians to the point where nobody even notices or cares that much. You know what I'm saying? If it was like you get this and we get this and you get this and we get this, then it would be feasible, you know? So like, for example, and I'm just being honest, it's like if, France was completely falling apart, becoming ghetto, becoming unlivable, being flooded with people, and Italians owned all the media companies, and Italians were funding both sides of politics, and Italians were funding everyone to do things for Italy and calling everybody an Italian phobe and giving Trump hundreds of millions of dollars so they could go do things for Italy. People would start to get annoyed in France about Italians, and that's not saying it's necessarily justified. I'm just like letting you know, it's like, AIPAC is nuts. Like, the fact that George Soros is funding the left to destroy what a lot consider, like, he calls it open society, but a lot of people just don't like George Soros and what he's doing on the left. And then you go to the right and it's Miriam Adelson on the right funding Trump to do things for Israel, but then you get called an anti-Semite if you talk about it. It's just too much. So what's my solution? I think American politicians need to do things for America. You can't just cry anti-Semitism and bigotry and expect everybody to just agree with you because you called them hateful. People have valid points. So my solution is not extreme or crazy or any of the stuff that you were suggesting. My solution is simple. American politicians have to do things for America. If I thought that most Zionist politicians were good at America, but also good for Israel, I would never have even talked about it because who cares? You know what I'm saying? But they're not. It's like you wake up, they're in Israel, they're kissing the wall, they're flying. It's like their whole life revolves around sucking up to Israel. It's the craziest thing ever. Like Trump is rigging the immigration process to make sure that people coming into America say nice things about Israel. That's crazy. If Israel was doing that for America, I would expect Israelis to be like, are you controlled by Americans? Like, why would you do that? So my solution is just, and I'm not saying Ron DeSantis is the perfect politician because he's clearly not, but he's the only Zionist that I could think of in American politics that actually does enough things for his own state that, it makes it like tolerable because it's like, well, he's got a surplus. You know what I'm saying? I think DeSantis is more serious about getting rid of property tax than Trump. If there's going to be taxes getting rid of, it's going to be DeSantis, not Trump. Trump is an idiot. Like DeSantis actually is strategic. So, I think they like everybody's saying America first. They have to prioritize America first. If they're always prioritizing something else and they're getting paid off by people who want other stuff, it is tiresome to people. So that's all it has to be. Like Trump needs to do a good job for America. If I could judge Trump's year so far, he closed the border, right? He's doing a good job. I'm not impressed with anything else. His DOJ is embarrassing. Kash Patel is embarrassing. RFK is not doing much. They're selling Ozempic and Pfizer shots, and Trump's doing deals. He's got Bill Gates in the White House. He didn't end the wars. He's just pretending to. The economy sucks. The country still kind of sucks low key. And Trump's acting like it's so great because he's the overseer of all this now. And he's a billionaire who just made hundreds of millions of dollars on crypto schemes. Like Trump is an absolute buffoon. But Trump is deporting people on college campuses, even if they're a legal non-citizen because they criticized Israel. Trump's rigging the immigration process for Israel. Trump's giving them money. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like if I could say, what has Trump done for Israel? A+, he's done what has Trump done for Ukraine? A+. How has he done for America? F. I think Trump is a horrible president. I think Trump is the most overrated person in like recent Republican history. Like he is rated like he is George Washington or Abe Lincoln, but he's really one of the worst presidents in modern history. The only one that's probably worse than him is Joe Biden. And you could say Obama too, but it's like Trump has all the downsides of George Bush, all the downsides of Republicans in the past, and the upsides just aren't there. It's like him closing the border. Wow, every politician closed the border 20 years ago. Bill Clinton didn't have an open border. Reagan didn't have an open border. Reagan did mass amnesty, and that was garbage. But it's like Trump's accomplishments are basically like him not being Joe Biden. He doesn't actually do anything. He has the tariffs are retarded. They're just a tax on the consumer and businesses. He's a total clown. So, it's like, it's Trump's responsibility to do better. It's Republicans' responsibility. To me, that's the solution. The solution is American politicians have to do better for Americans. But here's what I would say to you, my friend. There's two politicians that strike me out of the entire party that actually care about America and do things that make sense for Americans. Like they're the only ones that seem like they have half an intelligent thought in their heads and their entire life doesn't revolve around serving a foreign nation. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene and it's Thomas Massie. And Trump and Miriam Adelson and Paul Singer and other donors are spending millions to try to get him out of Kentucky. And he's one of the only politicians I like. He's passing the Prime Act. Well, Thomas Massie can't get anything passed because our Congress is corrupt. They don't pass things for Americans. They don't pass things for the meat industry. They're lobbied by the meat industry. They're lobbied by Big Pharma. They're lobbied by the pesticide companies. So yeah, they won't pass his Prime Act because it's actually for farmers and Americans who want good organic meat. The entire political system, they're a bunch of idiots. They don't want us to eat good meat. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, who Trump's now complaining about. So it's like we get two people and one of them is being funded and bankrolled by Trump's donor owners. I call them donor owners because Trump is a total stooge. And I guarantee you that they're going to probably, or someone's going to bankroll money against Marjorie Taylor Greene because they know that the truth and America First vibes would spread like wildfire. So they're trying to, put the faucet on Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene right now. Because if there were 50 Marjorie Taylor Greenes and 50 Thomas Masties, then we'd actually get bills passed for our own country. Then they'd probably actually clean up certain things and fix them, and say things that are relatable. Someone said, should we ignore him and have no dialogue? No, I just want people to challenge Donald Trump. The opposite of no dialogue. I want dialogue. I want people to stop kissing Trump's feet. I want people to stop kissing up to Trump. Trump is the president of the United States. Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. Trump is the most famous conservative person in the last 30 years, and he's the leader of the entire movement right now. He's the boss. People for a decade now, this is so annoying to me. Sorry, but I'm passionate about it. When Trump does something right, he gets credit, as he should. He's the quarterback. He's the leader. He should get credit. When Trump does something wrong, he never takes blame. And everyone goes, oh, it's the donors. It's Susie Wiles. It's this person. It's that person. It's this person. It's that person. He just got tricked. Bill Gates tricked him. He's just playing it's like the dude is like so annoying. That's why if people actually held Trump accountable and just called a spade, Trump wouldn't be that annoying. But he's literally so annoying. There is no affordability issue. And everyone's like, it's not Trump. It's Susie Wiles. It's like the guy takes no accountability, and no one in MAGA ever wants to call him out. It's like it could all be so simple. Like, what's my solution? It's simple. It's peaceful. It's just call him out. And I would say to my guy too, my problem is not with foreign politicians or foreign leaders. If you actually listen to what I'm saying, I'm not like people think I'm not a big critic of another leader. I don't think that someone like Netanyahu or Zelensky or any Putin, any leader, are they controlling San Francisco? Are they Nancy Pelosi? Are they Donald Trump? Like it's not their responsibility, whether it's Zelensky or Netanyahu. It's not their responsibility to look out after America. Zelensky's responsibility is to look out for Ukraine. Netanyahu's responsibility is to look out for Israel. It's Trump's responsibility to look out for America. It's Republicans' responsibility to look out for America. So I'm not mad at other leaders because it's not their job is to get as much as they can for their people. Makes total sense. But why is 95% of our party serving them? Why is 95% of our party taking money from all of these things and doing nothing for us? And it's not just Israel. The Republican Party sold out to the pharmaceutical industry. The Republican Party sold out to Ukraine, which is connected to the bigger picture. The Republican Party takes money from meatpacking industries, and that's why they don't want to sign Thomas Massey's meatpacking thing, because they're total frauds. It's like, this is what I want people to realize. And I've said this before, but it's the most easy way to understand politics. Even Donald Trump, their job is to talk to the meatpacking industry, talk to the pharmaceutical industry, talk to Bill Gates, talk to foreign leaders, talk to their donors, talk to all the corporations you hate, do deals with them, and then talk to you and be the wolf in sheep's clothing. That's why they get paid the big bucks. Trump's not really in control. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not. The big money controls way more things than some of these politicians. Like Pelosi, she doesn't have as much power as Elon Musk. I mean, she's got some power in the Democratic Party, but like Elon owns a bunch of companies that are way more powerful than Nancy Pelosi and has hundreds of billions of dollars. Like Elon makes more decisions probably than Pelosi does, but Pelosi has the power to facilitate them all. So they're basically like, you have to look at Trump. The fact that he's so likable and believable is what makes him such a dangerous puppet, and what makes him such a good puppet. Because if Trump was Lindsey Graham, he wouldn't be a good politician. He wouldn't win, and he couldn't make you think that he wasn't Lindsey Graham. But he is like a Lindsey Graham. He's just a lot less flaming and a lot less weird about it, and way more charming. Trump is a charmer. He's a great speaker. He's a great, like, comedian. He's good at his job. But that's how people need to look at politicians. You need to look at them like they're professional middlemen and basically professional wolves in sheep's clothing, unless they could prove to you otherwise, and even then their job is still to serve you. So, it's okay to challenge these people, but so many people, they don't get that, like, Trump is the only person who could strike a deal with Pfizer and then smile to the camera and still have people think he's on their side. No one else could pull that off. That's what makes Trump a good politician. He's not everything that Make America Healthy Again wants to do. Trump doesn't care. Trump is like, yeah, RFK, you can do this, this, and this, but I'm still going to do Ozempic deals. I'm still going to do Pfizer deals. And if you want the job, you got to convince people that that's what's better for them. It's status quo. We didn't vote for Bobby Kennedy for status quo, but we're getting status quo because Bobby Kennedy, even though he has some power, I think Trump ultimately calls the shots. So if Trump comes into his office and says, hey, get ready for the cameras, I'm about to shake hands with Pfizer CEO and give him a bunch of money, Bobby can't say no. He has no say. You know what I'm saying? Like, Trump is running the show, and Trump runs the show for people that MAGA hates. To this day, nobody in MAGA wants to admit that Trump is friends with Bill Gates, yet he constantly talks good about Bill Gates. He's talked about Bill Gates before he was in the election. He offered Bill Gates a White House position. He had meetings with Bill Gates in 2018. He brought Bill Gates to the White House. Out of all the tech leaders, he let Bill Gates sit right next to Melania. He was front and center, even above any other tech leader. You think this is all random? Trump likes Bill Gates. Trump is friends with Bill Gates, and they both knew Epstein pretty well. I'm sure that has nothing to do with it, but in general, it's just like this. I don't like Bill Gates. I'm MAGA and we don't like Bill Gates. It's like, yeah, 99% of MAGA doesn't like or trust Bill Gates, but the leader of MAGA is friends with Bill Gates and doing deals with Bill Gates and offering Bill Gates positions in the White House. So if you all don't like him, but your leader's doing deals with him, your movement is fake. MAGA has been fake for 5 years. It's not a real opposition movement. The energy's real. Some of the reporting's real. Some of the results are real. But for the most part, it's like you got a bunch of sheeple following the wolf in sheep's clothing. And nobody wants to admit it. Someone said, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Bill Gates is not Donald Trump's enemy. Trump does deals with Bill Gates. Trump met with him in 2018. Bill Gates told him about a universal flu vaccine. Trump offered him a White House position. Trump has him front and center in the White House now. And Doug Burgum was lobbied by Bill Gates in North Dakota. And now Doug Burgum has been put in front of the Secretary of Interior or whatever, controlling all the farmland or the national land in America. And when when Doug Burgum took Bill Gates money in South Dakota or North Dakota, he took Bill Gates lobbying money, and then he hired an attorney general. And then Bill Gates won this weird court case where he got to take a bunch of the farmland, or his companies got to take a bunch of the farmland in North Dakota. Doug Burgum's a total puppet, and Trump put him in charge of all of the land in the U.S. with this new position. Trump is not keeping his enemies close. He's friends with them. He's friends with the Clintons. He's friends with Pfizer CEO. He's friends with Bill Gates. Only you wish. You want to believe it's Batman and Trump's a hero. He's not your friend. It would be like Hillary Clinton meeting with George Soros, and you're like, Hillary Clinton's based. She's keeping George Soros close and her enemies closer. Like, you would never do that because you're not retarded. But on Donald Trump, all of a sudden, everybody's a moron. It's so embarrassing. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Oh yeah, keep the Pfizer CEO so close that you just keep dumping money into his pocket so he could keep his business afloat, so they could keep screwing you over. Oh yeah, that's real based. It's like, you guys are so pathetic. You guys are like groveling fanboys of a politician. Hillary Clinton just met with Bill Gates, but she's secretly fighting him to keep her friends close and her enemies closer. Humiliating, embarrassing. Your kids and your kids' kids should be ashamed of you. You are ashamed to your family tree. You're an embarrassment to everybody that's coming in the next 100 years in this country, if it even exists that long. Get it together. Trump is not fighting these people that he's friends with. You want to believe that because you can't face the truth, because you humiliate yourself in front of Trump in order to believe he's some sort of Marvel hero. It's so embarrassing. Stop. It's been too long. It's so pathetic. You guys are like mental babies. You guys have like infant brains. Goo goo gaga. Trump, blah, blah. Grow up, you freaking losers. Excuse me. Sorry. Estela Wuchner said, I've officially filed my candidacy for lieutenant governor. Vote for me against Zionism. Thank you for the super chats, my man, all the time. I know you keep doing it. Appreciate it. Let me try to write your name down, my guy, because I know you keep super chatting. I'll try to look into what you're doing. All right. How about that? You did a super chat a bunch of times. Let's see. I'm going to write it down. All right. Written down for you, my guy. All right. Someone said, well said. Dude, it gets to a point where, like, I don't know. What else are you really going to do? Are we really going to sit here for 5 years and they're like, oh, Trump just hired Marco Rubio because his friends are close and he just took hundreds of millions of dollars from Miriam Adelson and says he does things for Israel because he's keeping them close and is closer. It's like, you guys, it's so embarrassing at this point, you know? This is why the elites at this point, they love Donald Trump. They're like his supporters are retarded. They're literally like, dude, we can cut Pfizer deals in the White House right in front of them, laugh in their faces, tell them there's no affordability issue, make a bunch of money off of crypto schemes, and they're still going to sit there and worshiping this guy. If it were any other politician, everybody in MAGA would be like, holy crap, this guy's not on our side. But only Donald Trump. It's like a giant MAGA humiliation ritual. It's like, what can he do to you and still have you think he's keeping his enemies closer? He could spit in your face and you'd be like, this is magical QAnon liquid. Dan Scavino told me about this on Twitter. Oh my gosh, I have Trump liquid on my... No, he just spit in your face because he thinks you're an animal. No, you don't understand, Anomaly. He's keeping the spit close and his enemies closer. He needs to spit in my face and cut deals with Pfizer in order to fight Pfizer. The only way to fight Pfizer is to give them money, take money from me through taxes, and spit in my face. That's the only way he could take down the establishment. All right, bro. If that's what you want to believe, then you know what I'm saying? I guess, who am I to stop a good time? I shouldn't even talk about it. I shouldn't even question you on that. So my bad. All right. Appreciate y'all. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Thanks for hanging out. And I just want to let people know, dreamrare.com, if you want one of these hats, you can pull it down. You know what I'm saying? You could look like this. You can keep it up, look like a Smurf character like I was, but it's really on you with these hats. You could do either one. God is great. God bless. And we got the white hats made in America. You see the flag right there. Made in America, designed in America by me, custom made, all the materials in America. I had to pay top dollar and premium to get these, so they were actually made in America. Dreamrare.com. Thank you to everybody getting one. Get one now for Thanksgiving. Wear it at Thanksgiving. Be a hit. Get one for Christmas. Appreciate y'all. Dreamrare.com. Thank you. I work for the hat industrial complex. We are funneling money through our hat company in order to put hats on the entire country. We don't want anyone to show off their hair. So if you're bald, it's for you. If you got hair on your head, we're covering it up. The hat industrial complex at dreamrare.com we're doing some things. Let's just say that. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for being here. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'll be back with more videos soon. Hopefully you enjoyed that. It was definitely a change of pace to some extent, but it is what it is. I mean, I believe everything I said, I meant. So, I don't know how it came out. It's hard to really tell when I'm in the zone, but I thought it was fun. Hopefully it translated. And if it were a little bit jumpy at certain points, I think it was YouTube having a little glitch. So I'm sure it'll be fine later. Thank you guys. I'll be back with more videos soon. New video on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, a little short one, 3 minutes if you want to watch that. And I'll have long and short